Crouched in the shadows, our guy grips his bow while a massive patrol of heavily armed knights stomps past. A normal sniper would be absolute toast. Taking on a full squad of walking tanks in a straight-up brawl, yeah, right, but he's ice cold. He calculates his ammo locks onto his prey and unleashes pure hell. Thwack. One knight drops in the dirt. Then another. Before these heavy hitters even process the ambush or spot the sniper, a solid third of their crew is already wiped out. Yu Song-yoon is dealing out back-to-back crits with terrifying precision. His firing rate is so cracked the knights can't even close the gap. The slaughter doesn't stop until a single terrified survivor is left standing. The dude scrambles to flee, but our marksman tracks him flawlessly and drops him cold. Let's be real, nobody in this brutal medieval realm can survive a showdown against Yu Sang-hyun, because this dude used to be an elite modern-day archery prodigy. Let's rewind the tape. We're in set number 3 of the national championships. The arena is absolutely roaring. Thousands of eyes are glued to the youngest competitor on the field, Yu Song-yoon. He's down to his final shot. Up to this exact second, he's nailed a flawless 10 every single time. He sucks in a breath, grounding his nerves, and lets it rip. The shaft tears through the air, completely obliterating the dead center target by splitting the previous arrow right down the middle. With that legendary flex, he clutches the gold, cementing himself as the youngest national champ in history. But that glory era, it's dead and buried. Fast forward 10 years. Sang-hyun is rotting in a soul-crushing corporate job, getting totally ripped apart by his manager for spacing out. His hands shake violently as he murmurs a pathetic apology. To corporate, he's just useless dead weight. Later that night, Sang-hyun roasts in the glow of his monitor, isolated in his pitch-black apartment. He's looping clips of his peak moments. Archery wasn't just a sport, it was his entire life. He grinded like a madman to snatch that scholarship, trying to build a stable life for him and his grandma. He actually thought he had a guaranteed ticket out, until a brutal car crash shattered his right hand, and his dreams along with it. Now he's barely scraping by, on a pity job his old coach begged for. Desperate to numb the pain, he fires up Twitch. He's watching streamers dive into hyper-realistic VR games using fully immersive pods hardware, so ridiculously priced he couldn't afford one in his wildest dreams. He stares as some random streamer totally fumbles with a bow, yet still pulls massive viewership. But the next morning, reality hits rock bottom. His boss slaps a pre-written resignation form on his desk. The company is downsizing and Sang-hyun is getting kicked to the curb. Zero leverage, zero fight. He just signs it. At 28, he's officially a complete failure. But later, staring blankly at his ceiling, a crazy thought hits him. In VR, the physical limits vanish. What if his hands work perfectly in the game? He starts deep diving into the streaming meta and spots a massive loophole. Viewers aren't just there for laughs. They throw money at actual god-tier mechanics. And for the first time in a decade, his blood pumps with hope. It's a pure, unrigged system where grinding pays off. He decides right then he's going all in. Sang-hyun drops this master plan on his buddy Joo-hyuk, and the dude is utterly floored. He thinks Sang-hyun has lost his mind, ready to blow his entire life savings on a VR pod when he's literally a gaming noob. Joo-hyuk brings up the crash, desperately reminding him of the trauma. But Sang-hyun isn't flinching. Even when his bro does the math, proving a rig could burn up to 40 million won, our guy remains dead set on this path. Realizing he can't stop him, Joo-hyuk drags him to a high-end VR cafe to test the waters first. They link up with the owner Kang-suk, who boots up a custom archery sandbox for the rookie. The pod seals shut, and instantly Sang-hyun spawns in the middle of a hyper-realistic arena. The sensory feedback is mind-blowing. But the second his fingers wrap around the grip, the violent tremors return. The PTSD hits like a truck, and it seems like he's going to choke. Then he closes his eyes, inhales, exhales. The trembling vanishes. He draws the bowstring back and lets it fly. Dead center. He rapid fires thwack, thwack, thwack. Every single shot is an absolute pixel-perfect bullseye. Out in the real world, Kang-suk and Joo-hyuk are staring at the monitor with their jaws on the floor. This isn't beginner's luck. This is the return of a freaking god. When he finally logs out, Sang-hyun is drenched in sweat. But the proof is undeniable. The king is back. Suddenly, flashbacks assault his brain, the screeching tires, the blinding hospital lights, the exact second his life was ruined. The phantom pain still burns like fresh acid. But this time, the vibe has shifted. He finally has his weapon back. Virtual or not, the power in his hands is real. After haggling a sick discount on a used pod, Sang-hyun gets his rig fully operational in his messy room. It's time to go live. But rather than jumping into the mainstream casual RPGs, he makes a big brain play. He selects Kingdom Age, a brutally unforgiving dark fantasy title infamous for destroying casual players. He locks in his avatar, hits start, and just like that, the comeback tour kicks off. The sensory sync activates, flooding his vision with a blinding white light. Forget about a chill tutorial. Our hero is violently jolted into the game by a vicious backhand across the face. He wakes up tangled in a beat-up wooden wagon, buried under cargo with his cheek stinging like crazy. As he scrambles up and peeks over the rim, he spots an absolute bloodbath tearing through the village ahead. Towering right over him is Roman, a grizzled silver-haired merc captain roaring at the rookie to wake the hell up and fight, and grab a weapon, because a bandit ambush is going down. A glowing digital menu pops up offering the usual spear or sword, but Sang-hyun scrolls straight to the absolute bottom and locks in the bow. This wild pick instantly hooks the 5 viewers hanging out in his chat. They start spamming warnings telling him the bow is a total nightmare to use thanks to the game's brutal real-life armor physics. Oh, and let's not forget the super limited arrow count. Even with chat calling this a totally doomed run, our guy doesn't even flinch and secures his weapon. Out of nowhere, a bow and exactly 20 arrows crash down from the sky right next to him. The chat instantly cracks up at our rookie jumping out of his skin, but the entire vibe shifts the second Sang-hyun grips the wood. Even Captain Roman roasts him, betting he won't land a single hit. Calling his mindset completely pathetic, our hero just zones out the trash talk, locking his dead serious eyes onto the battlefield. He pulls the string back and lets it rip. Boom, a flawless headshot straight through a hooded thug. Chat goes wild, hyping up what they think is pure beginner's luck. Meanwhile, Sang-hyun realizes this virtual setup feels crazy familiar. It's hitting right in that sweet spot between his past life as a pro archer and his recent VR training sessions. Right then, a viewer named Ruby Sword drops some lore. They explain that this game's headshot system is insanely detailed, tracking actual internal organ hitboxes. Hearing this, Sang-hyun coolly decides to wipe the floor with these guys one by one. Chat is absolutely howling at his crazy confidence, but our main character stays dead silent, ready to let his raw gameplay do all the talking. His golden eyes narrow, and he unleashes arrows that practically glow with a lethal blue energy. 20 arrows. 20 bandits. Every single shot has to be a guaranteed kill. The chaotic battlefield empties out fast as our boy snipes down targets, all while chilling out behind a busted wooden fence. Suddenly, he spots a massive heavy shield boss bull-rushing Roman, turning things into a total disaster. The giant is built like a literal tank, but Sang-hyun's eagle eyes catch a razor-thin gap on his flank. He knocks an arrow and lets loose. The shaft curves through the air, threading the needle right through the helmet's crack and burying into the boss's temple. As the dust settles, Sang-hyun blinks in confusion. The chat has flatlined into absolute silence. He starts sweating, thinking his gameplay was totally snoozeworthy. But 2 seconds later, his screen absolutely erupts with a flood of caps lock hype. His viewers are losing their minds. He didn't just survive the wave, he absolutely deleted a mini-boss. A boss that is mathematically impossible for a level 1 noob to scratch. The chat starts begging to know how he held a perfectly steady aim at maximum draw. Sang-hyun tilts his head, genuinely baffled because holding a full draw feels like breathing to him. Heavy footsteps echo as Roman marches up to the rookie. The grumpy NPC looks completely blown away by that clutch final shot. Faster than light, clips of this god-tier gameplay flood every single gaming forum. Everyone is sharing edits of this mystery streamer who somehow managed to thaw the icy heart of the game's toughest captain. Right at the end of the viral clip, Roman demands his name so he can report this insane bravery up the chain of command. Our boy flashes a smirk right into the lens. He drops his tag Almond, a name that instantly blows up the search algorithms. Across the internet, the Kingdom Age fandom had basically turned into a ghost town, endlessly recycling the same boring meta. Just the same hardcore veterans talking in circles. Since the game itself was completely starved for updates, the forums felt like an absolute echo chamber. That is until one thread dropped, titled "A Total Noob Getting Worshipped by Roman." It completely shattered the internet. The post linked the raw footage, showing the stone-cold mercenary actually smiling. This instantly triggered a massive toxic debate in the replies. Half the thread called cap, assuming it was deep-faked clickbait since Roman hates everyone. But the crystal-clear video showed a guy, one-tapping a nightmare boss and casually walking away. The community was torn right down the middle, juggling pure hype and massive suspicion. Sweaty tryhards started theorizing that this had to be a top-tier esports pro doing a smurf account bow-only challenge. But the tech nerds quickly shut that down. Smurfing in a VR capsule is literally impossible because the rig scans your retinas and fingerprints on login, and when the original poster pointed out his default auto-generated username, the reality hit them. This dude was a 100% genuine rookie. Back in his dark bedroom, Yu Sang-hyun's jaw is on the floor as he scrolls through the viral threads. He never in a million years thought his super casual first stream would break the internet like this, especially seeing his name stacked up against Electron, a literal gaming god and ex-pro who famously rage-quit the game's broken bow physics. The reality that a random newcomer, totally styled on a game mechanic that broke a world champion, is creating absolute madness online. Some fans are stressing out, terrified the heavy expectations will make our boy log off forever. But instead of folding under the pressure, Sang-hun feels his pulse hammering. A wild competitive fire ignites in his chest, something he hasn't felt in actual years. He grins, realizing this insane spotlight is injecting him with absolute adrenaline. Fast forward to the next morning. Joo-hyuk hits him up from a chaotic office cafeteria just to check his pulse. Sang-hyun totally deadpans that he wrapped up his debut stream pulling in 20 viewers. Joo-hyuk practically launches out of his seat. He causes a massive scene and has to awkwardly bow to his annoyed coworkers. Cupping the mic, he aggressively whispers, absolutely mind-blown, that a total rookie could pull those kinds of numbers. Sang-hyun shrugs it off, claiming he just picked a hyped game, but Joo-hyuk knows it's straight-up raw talent. But before they can deep dive, a furious manager starts barking at Joo-hyuk for slacking off. Hearing that toxic corporate grind over the phone only fuels Sang-hyun's fire. He is locked in. He's so obsessed with making this streaming gig pop that he completely ditches his breakfast. Instead, he dives straight back into the VR capsule. This isn't just a hobby anymore. It's his literal 9 to 5 and every second counts. His stomach is screaming for food as the pod seals shut, but his brain is dialed entirely into his exploding fan base. The second his broadcast goes live, his jaw drops. 189 people are already chilling in the waiting room. His sub count literally multiplied by 9 overnight. Thanks to a viral forum post, the chat is moving at lightning speed, and the heavy weight of all those eyeballs makes Sang-hyun's knuckles turn white. A sudden wave of stage fright hits him hard, but he needs to lock in. Tapping into a hardcore mental hack from his pro-athlete days, he zooms out, visualizing the whole room in third person, to totally detach from the crushing pressure. Boom! The anxiety melts away. A slick, confident smirk flashes across his face as he finally greets his chat. He gets comfy in the UI, fully prepped to drop an absolute masterclass of a playthrough. But while Sang-hyun plunges deep into the virtual world, Joo-hyuk is slumped at his office desk, getting absolutely drained by toxic corporate politics. Out of nowhere, a massive realization hits him. He totally blanked on passing along a crucial warning from Kang-suk, the guy who owns the capsule. Kang-suk had dropped a major red flag about the rig's body optimization features, something Sang-hyun desperately needed to hear. But before he can fire off a text, Joo-hyuk gets violently dragged into yet another endless staff meeting, leaving our boy trapped inside the high-tech pod, blissfully ignorant of the massive technical danger as he kicks off his second day on stream. Flashback to the night before. Sang-hyun didn't just sleep. He pulled a massive late-night deep dive on the internet, studying the streaming game like a final exam. He meticulously analyzed how top-tier creators control their chat heavily, researching canceled streamers just to figure out exactly what not to do. He uncovered some major unwritten rules like how flexing your viewer count midstream totally kills the community vibe. He also realized that building friendly rivalries and keeping the vibe super chill and personal is the ultimate cheat code. You want the viewers to feel like they are just crashing on the couch watching their best bro game. So, sitting in his rig for day 2, our protagonist is leveling up. He scans the chat log and instantly spots some OG usernames from his debut. Legends like Ruby Sword, Eggplant, and Mr. Dummy, putting his late-night research to work. He flashes a warm smile and drops a personalized shout-out thanking them for returning. That tiny flex of attention, it makes the chat absolutely pop off. Fans are literally spamming streaming prodigy in the chat, mind blown that he's already cultivating a hardcore loyal fan base. The genius title makes him sweat a little, so he quickly pivots and launches the game. A blinding flash of white light consumes the screen, as the rig triggers a complete neural dive. When Sang-hyun's eyes rip open, he is instantly perched on the back of a massive brown stallion. He is surrounded by a hyper-realistic, vibrant forest. It totally catches him off guard. because the system drops him straight into the danger zone. See, after turning off his stream yesterday, he kept grinding offline for a bit. He had finessed Roman into introducing him to the mercenary boss, locking down a brand new quest. He pauses to catch his audience up, briefing the 189 viewers that he is currently playing VIP bodyguard for some wandering aristocrat. Honestly, it feels way more like a babysitting gig than an epic war, but he locks in and preps for the journey. The game's insane physics engine is blowing his mind, and he mutters out loud that the saddle feedback feels 100% authentic. Suddenly, Roman trots up next to him asking if this is his first time in the saddle. Sang-yoon answers back super casually, almost like the VR world is hijacking his vocal cords and speaking for him. In a massive twist, the normally toxic Roman lets out a booming laugh, telling him he better get used to riding. This wholesome interaction totally short-circuits the veteran players in the chat. They have literally never witnessed this NPC act this nice to a human player. The chat starts spamming memes demanding to know what kind of spell Almond cast on the captain to completely reprogram his aggressive personality. The chill vibes don't last long because the chat starts blowing up with warnings predicting a brutal ambush from horseback raiders. Right on cue, a pack of savage marauders bursts out of the tree line led by a crimson-haired boss flashing a totally psychotic smile. Roman roars at his mercs to hold the line and fight back, but their vanguard gets absolutely shredded in seconds. Blood spills as a merc takes a blade to the chest, making the survival odds look totally hopeless. Meanwhile, the chat is just ruthlessly trolling, mocking how insanely hard this quest is. But Sang-hun, he's ice cold. Coming from the sports world, he knows haters will always doubt you until you shut them up, so our guy smoothly rips an arrow from his quiver. He scans the battlefield, clocking around 50 targets, blitzing toward them at full speed, and figures the absolute ultimate flex is letting his skills do the talking. He locks onto his prey, drawing the bowstring back with dead steady precision, and centers his crosshairs on the vanguard. With a crisp release, the arrow slices through the chaotic air and absolutely drills the bandit boss right between the eyes. The kill is so violently sudden that Roman and his entire squad just freeze in dead tracks. Jaws literally drop as the enemy commander crumples into the dirt. Even the toxic chat goes completely dead for a split second before erupting into pure hype. Viewers are losing their minds, swearing it's physically impossible to even spot a target from that crazy distance, let alone snipe a one-shot kill. Sang-yoon just tilts his head at their massive freakout, totally confused since he literally just aimed for the guy in the very front. It was just dumb luck that guy was the captain. Ignoring the absolute meltdown in the comments, our boy stays locked in. Realizing the bloodbath is far from finished, he starts knocking arrows like a machine. He pivots from victim to victim, methodically deleting these raiders off the map. With every single twang of his bow, another body drops, sparking sheer terror in the surviving bandits. They scramble to retreat, but as they try to ghost, Sang-hun is having none of it. No one leaves alive. Stretching his bow to its literal breaking point, he whispers a quick sorry and unleashes a final devastating shot that officially ends the raid. This god-tier gameplay instantly blows up, sending shockwaves through the entire Kingdom Age fandom. A massive streamer named Acorn Jelly is scrolling the forums when he stumbles across a viral thread hyping up a total noob who supposedly one-tapped a boss. At first, he scoffs at the clickbait, assuming any content creator maining a bow is just a massive troll, grinding for a garbage challenge. But the second he boots up the clip, his cocky smirk instantly vanishes. He zooms in, realizing these bandits didn't just take damage, they were completely obliterated by strikes that totally shattered the game's core survival rules. With his hands literally shaking, Acorn Jelly realizes he's witnessing the legendary perfect shot. It's a mythic tier of skill that basically doesn't exist. Normally, landing a crit means an instant kill on regular mobs, but bosses have plot armor against that. Yet there's this insanely well-hidden mechanic where a flawless strike can hack right through those safety nets, dealing way more critical damage than a basic headshot. But the requirements to pull this off are so cracked, demanding a pixel-perfect hit to a fatal organ within 1.5 seconds of getting ambushed, that most hardcore vets swear it's just a myth. Watching a day one rookie not just trigger this, but casually spam it like a basic attack, leaves Acorn Jelly sweating, wondering if he's reacting to an aimbot hacker or a legit Olympic gold medalist. The camera cuts back to the game where our guy is blasting across the plains on horseback at maximum speed, with a bloodthirsty pack of rogue mercs hot on his tail. Captain Roman matches his pace, yelling over the wind that swinging a spear or a bat would be way less suicidal, since trying to snipe from a galloping mount is basically a death wish. The chat completely backs Roman up, spamming that. Mounted archery is absolute torture for the vast majority of players. But ignoring the solid logic, Almond stays frosty and stubbornly clings to his bow, claiming it's his comfort zone. This insane loyalty to the weapon actually melts the grumpy Captain Roman, who instantly turns into his biggest fanboy, sending the viewers into hysterics as they roast the captain's ridiculous favoritism. But as the manhunt hits top gear, our hero has a chilling realization. This is literally his first time tracking a moving target while fighting the bouncy, unpredictable rhythm of a wild horse. The massive pressure triggers a wave of dark old trauma, and his hands start violently shaking. But quitting isn't in his DNA, so he zones in, desperately syncing his breathing and muscles to the violent gallop of his ride. The second he taps into that perfect flow state, he lets the arrow fly, absolutely pinning a bandit through the throat. Sure, he was angling for the skull, but a kill is a kill, and it instantly sends the stream into an absolute frenzy. He leans into the wind aggressively, pushing his limits to strike faster and more lethal, and starts chaining back-to-back headshots, sending enemies ragdolling off their saddles into the dirt one by one. When the chaos finally clears, the entire hostile squad has been utterly wiped from existence. Roman is left totally speechless, aggressively flashing a huge thumbs up, and praising him as a literal god-tier archer. The rest of the crew starts hyping him up too, bowing down to this modern-day Robin Hood. Right in the middle of the hype, a massive alert blows up the screen. Acorn Jelly just dropped a whopping 100,001 points. The absolute whale is literally demanding to know if those god-tier snipes were legit. Since this is the very first time Almond has ever secured such a massive bag, our boy is visibly sweating. The chat goes completely feral, spamming the feed and demanding an epic reaction for the crazy tip. They want some kind of archery trick shot. Trying to give the fans what they want, our guy aims his bow and launches a single arrow straight up into the digital sky. As a flashy, celebratory salute, he locks eyes with the camera, dropping a deadpan tada right as the arrow vanishes into the clouds. But brutally, this fast-paced movement, clashing with his absolute dinosaur of a VR rig, triggers a fatal system crash. The screen aggressively flashes a blood-red game over warning before completely flatlining into darkness. But in an absolute comedy of errors, the chat entirely misreads the situation, assuming this was a massive brain comedic sign-off. The offline chat is absolutely losing their minds with laughter, crowning him an absolute gigachad who literally sacrifices his in-game life for the hype. Smash cut to in real life. Sang-yoon peels himself out of his VR capsule, entirely drained and dripping with sweat. His first panicked thought is that his ancient potato PC finally bricked itself. But the second he checks his phone, he realizes the stream ended on an absolute high note. Because the fanbase thinks that accidental self-sabotage was a god-tier sketch, his view count is actually skyrocketing. He quietly reflects on how his pro-athlete muscle memory instinctively tweaked that arrow's flight path, though he completely ignores the urge to bore his chat with the sweaty technical details. Chilling out in his kitchen, he runs a quick search on Acorn Jelly and is genuinely blown away by the veteran creator's insane mechanics. His deep dive gets cut short by a sudden notification from the platform. To his absolute shock, Acorn Jelly himself just slid straight into his DMs, dropping a super professional introduction to the rising rookie star. Acorn Jelly isn't just some random streamer. The dude is an absolute titan in the space, boasting nearly 1 million subs, and an incredibly deep content library. Since Sang-yoon is hungry to secure that exact same level of massive success, he starts hyper-analyzing the veteran's channel, but this unexpected text puts our boy in a massive bind. In the message, the heavy hitter admits he is completely obsessed with Almond's cracked gameplay, jokingly clarifying his orientation to keep things chill before pitching a massive collab. He pitches throwing together a laid-back reaction video or a basic tip-sharing stream, keeping the vibes low stakes and easy. Sang-yoon is deeply torn. On one hand, he knows linking up with a giant would be an insane algorithm boost, but he is terrified of looking like a desperate clout chaser, just leeching off a bigger creator's fame. The mental gymnastics get even worse when he realizes he literally has 0 streamer friends to hit up for advice on navigating this toxic internet politics game. His best buddy is chilling on a random park bench, sounding wildly optimistic, despite the sad cardboard box of desk supplies sitting right next to him. Joo-hyuk casually drops the bomb that he just rage quit his corporate job after an absolute screaming match with his toxic boss, Manager Park. While Sang-yoon is practically hyperventilating over the news, Juhyuk calmly explains that watching his bro reclaim his archery dreams, even if it's just pixels, pushed him to finally chase his own passions. Riding this wave of absolute liberation, Juhyuk boldly declares that he is officially stepping up as Almond's full-time manager. He entirely waves off Sang-yoon's panic over missing paychecks or throwing away a safe career, insisting a gap year is totally fine, and that they are going to secure a massive bag together. Juhyuk instantly gets insanely hyped hearing about the incoming collab, Pitch viewing this as the ultimate test to flex his brand new management skills. He strictly orders Sang-yoon to stay completely out of the messy logistics, promising to hard carry the back end so our guy can just lock in and pop off on screen. Hard cut to a highly aesthetic, modern cafe, the battleground for the meetup with Acorn Jelly's squad. A manager named Nyan is heavily side-eyeing, the whole situation confused why they are burning time on a total noob in such an extremely casual spot. The megastar himself, Dojae Mok, openly admits he scouted Almond purely for his crazy potential, totally radiating that low-key superstar ego. Neon immediately roasts him over a disastrous past collab, but J-Mok fiercely claps back, hyping Almond's raw physical mechanics as the absolute best in the entire country, cementing this as a massive future-proof investment. But the second Nyan asks if they've even linked up in real life. J-Mok's dead silence proves he is blindly gambling on those viral gaming clips. That heavy doubt completely shatters, however, the split second Sang-yoon strides up to the table rocking a razor-sharp tailored suit. His aura is so intensely magnetic that Nyan is instantly left completely speechless by his insane visuals. Sang-yoon smoothly introduces himself using his real name, Yu Sang-yoon, extending a firm professional handshake that completely shatters every single basement-dwelling gamer stereotype. The vibe shifts from casual to strictly business. The second Juhyuk steps up, introducing himself as the official manager. He smoothly slides freshly minted business cards across the table, leaving Sang-hoon totally baffled about when the guy even found the time to print them. Juhyuk flexes his high-level corporate background, and his ultra-polished energy is so overwhelming that Nayeon immediately feels out of her league. She frantically bows, downplaying her own status as just a lowly manager, before the squad finally sits down to hash out the broadcast details. As they flip through the stream docs, the chat gets deep into the financials. Sang-hun, feeling totally clueless about the industry, casually offers to do the whole collab for zero pay. J-Mok and Nayeon are absolutely shook quickly, schooling him that working for free is straight-up exploitation and would trigger a massive PR nightmare for their channel. Juhyuk jumps in, pitching a minimum wage deal, proving that even a brilliant corporate shark still has zero clue how streamer money actually flows. J-Mok immediately shoots down the hourly rate, slapping a massive 50-50 split of all donation revenue generated during the live event right onto the table. The insanely generous offer leaves Juhyuk completely speechless, officially kickstarting Almond's journey as a pro gamer. Later, as the sunset washes over the neon city skyline, Juhyuk and Sang-hoon cruise down the street, hyping up the massive success of their brand new business alliance. Juhyuk, who has been doing serious deep dives into the streaming market, drops a total bombshell. He reveals that even a conservative cut from their upcoming Acorn Jelly collab could easily pull in over 1 million won. Our boy is absolutely mind-blown by his buddy's insane foresight, especially when Juhyuk casually pulls up a crystal-clear audio recording of their entire meeting, just to make sure they are legally bulletproof. This ruthless level of preparation makes Sang-hoon realize exactly why guys like Juhyuk absolutely dominate the cutthroat corporate world. To keep things completely fair, Juhyuk pitches a killer profit-sharing setup where he refuses to take a single dime until Sang-hoon is casually pulling in over 3 million won a month. He laughs it off, claiming his massive financial safety net comes from being a total investing genius, letting him prioritize his best friend's glow-up over making a quick buck. The second our hero jacks back into his gaming capsule, his stream absolutely explodes, with fans dying for the tea on the rumored collab. Since the spoilers are already flying across the internet, his view count is skyrocketing, forcing him to play it super cool and act completely dumb just to keep their master marketing strategy from falling apart. To kick off the stream, he boldly declares his master plan to track down and assassinate a notorious bandit warlord inside Kingdom Age. This wild flex instantly sends the chat into a frenzy, with sweaty tryhards roasting him alive because they know for a fact that bosses are heavily coded to tank a straight-up headshot. A brief wave of confusion hits the chat regarding the name of his last big kill, as viewers quickly correct him, pointing out that he merely sniped an elite mob named Burka, not a legitimate boss. This massive wave of doubt triggers a hardcore mission bounty, where a viewer named Ruby Sword aggressively drops 100,001 if our boy can actually secure the impossible one-tap kill. Hyped up by the massive bag and the insanely high energy of his chat, Sang-hoon completely locks in, accepts the bet, and plunges headfirst into the virtual battlefield. Inside the server, the vibe gets super personal when he crosses paths with Amelia, a stunning blonde aristocrat, who practically melts while thanking him for his insane clutch during the last battle. Even though his chat is screaming at him to squeeze her for gold, Sang-hoon plays the stoic lone wolf mercenary role, which ironically sends his favorability ratings through the roof with both the characters and his massive audience. This entire scene perfectly sparks the classic waifu war between the hardcore Amelia simps and the fans backing the edgier secondary heroine Rosalita. But the chill vibes die fast when Captain Roman completely shifts gears, launching a brutal midnight raid on a bandit stronghold buried deep within a heavily fogged mountain range. As the squad initiates the sneak attack, our protagonist is plunged into an insanely high-stakes firefight that feels absolutely terrifyingly real. Because he respects the virtual bow, exactly like he did back in his pro-athlete days, his killer instincts ignite. He goes into complete dead-eye mode systematically, erasing the enemy guards one by one from the pitch-black shadows. The whole raid hits critical mass when Sang-hoon's god-tier aim randomly unlocks a broken new skill called consecutive shooting. He triggers it after landing 3 flawless headshots back-to-back. While casuals usually butcher this tricky mechanic, our hero's insane reflexes turn his arrows into a blindingly fast volley of magical light. He wipes the entire camp with such ruthless efficiency that the chat finally wakes up to reality. It isn't the game's mechanics making him fast. The guy holding the bow is just a total freak of nature. Amidst the chaotic aftermath of the slaughter, a mercenary stumbles upon the bandit warlord completely lifeless, an arrow buried straight through his skull. The stream is instantly thrown into pure, unadulterated shock, raging that a single arrow definitely shouldn't be enough to one-shot a boss-tier enemy, especially when it looked like they were totally doomed. But then a massive dono from Acorn Jelly drops, validating the insane truth. Sang-yoon actually pulled off the legendary perfect shot, a broken mechanic that completely deletes the enemy's health bar. Our boy is just sitting there totally shell-shocked, trying to wrap his head around this ultra-rare skill he just accidentally executed. This sparks massive chaos online, with the veteran streamer fiercely defending the existence of this secret feature, while his own chat ruthlessly trolls him, calling the perfect shot pure copium invented by desperate bowmains. Pulling his hair out over the haters, Acorn Jelly glares at Almond's character on screen, practically begging our guy to just spell out the secret to the non-believers. But when a totally clueless Sang-yoon literally asks out loud what a perfect shot even is, the superstar streamer absolutely freezes. His eyes practically bulge out of his skull. Our hero legitimately has zero clue why everyone is losing their minds. Acorn Jelly literally collapses onto his desk in pure shock. It hits him. Our main character has been executing god-tier, pro-league mechanics without even realizing they're a thing. It makes him question if this dude is literally a gaming prodigy, fueled by pure adrenaline. And realizing the hype is peaking, Acorn Jelly blasts another massive dono to officially lock in a collab stream. For the very next day, this out-of-nowhere announcement makes the chat absolutely detonate. Viewers are losing it, realizing they're watching a total noob score a duo with an S-tier internet celeb, literally 3 days into his career. Sang-yoon is definitely taken aback, catching some fans in the chat, sweating that stepping into Acorn Jelly's orbit might trigger a massive cancellation, or totally tank his debut. But our boy plays it ice cold, noticing that beneath the toxic spam, the majority of the chat is low-key hyped for this showdown. To make things even spicier, a viewer named Ruby Sword drops a bet, offering another 100,001 bucks if our guy can replicate that perfect shot. Live during the collab. Flashing a subtle smirk and a fiery glint in his eye, Almond locks it in, hyping up the crowd that tomorrow's stream is officially a go. But before cutting the feed, our boy decides to bless the chat with one final trick to wrap up the epic broadcast. Knowing he just completely styled on the boss and secured the ultimate crossover, it's the ultimate mic drop moment. He pulls back his bowstring, launching a victory arrow straight up into the digital moonlight, shouting out his donators. But tragically, the game's hardcore physics kick in, and the arrow plummets right back down on his head. A brutal, blood-splattered game over screen instantly paints the monitor, leaving the entire chat absolutely dying of laughter at his legendary troll endings. Cut to reality, Sang-yoon snaps awake in his dark room, stumbling to the sink to splash freezing water over his face. He starts low-key panicking that getting violently booted from the VR world every time he dies is literally scrambling his brainwaves. The sensory shock is just way too intense. His spiral gets cut short by a text from his manager Joo-hyuk, demanding a meetup spot. Sang-yoon is totally lost, thinking they were linking up in Discord, but Joo-hyuk quickly hits him with a reality check about their old deal to run an in-real-life interview and broadcast. Since his brain totally deleted that memory, our guy realizes he has zero time to stress urgently typing out Huggy Station as their rally point. Scrambling to get ready, he scrolls through the socials and sees the internet is absolutely obsessing over his meme-tier suicide endings and the insane upcoming collab. He even stumbles onto a hardcore breakdown essay where some nerd tries to dissect his boss-slaying footage, frame by agonizing frame. But the verdict? Totally inconclusive. The attack was so blindingly fast that no one can confirm if he fired one single arrow or two. This massive mystery just injects pure rocket fuel into the collab's hype, sparking toxic debates everywhere, fighting over whether Almond is a secret gaming god or just a faker using aimbots and slick edits. Things hit absolute critical mass when Joo-hyuk calls screaming that a teaser clip dropped on Acorn Jelly's channel, and it already smashed past 40,000 views in literally 60 minutes. The edit is super clean, flashing Almond's dark silhouette and lethal arrows, before cutting to black with one insanely dramatic question: is the perfect shot actually real? Thanks to this god-tier marketing, the very next day, the stream violently shatters the all-time viewership record for the entire streaming platform. Inside the massive studio, you could cut the tension with a knife. Acorn Jelly whispers to Sang-yoon, making absolutely sure our boy is ready for the face reveal. Our hero nervously straightens his drip while Joo-hyuk and the tech crew angle the heavy-duty cameras for the live feed, right as that glowing red on-air sign violently snaps on. The broadcast kicks off with the chat absolutely blowing up with hype. Sang-yoon is totally mind-blown. The viewer count spawns at a massive 10,000 and instantly skyrockets toward 40,000. He sits back watching Acorn Jelly flawlessly work the crowd, keeping the energy completely off the charts. Killing time for the lobby to fill, the veteran streamer suddenly pumps his fist, hyping the viewers that they are finally about to witness the mythic perfect shot in the flesh. The chat goes absolutely feral, a wild mix of mega hype and pure doubt as thousands spam Almond's name. Following an insanely cinematic intro, the screen cuts to a radiant backdrop with the host rolling out the red carpet for the prodigy, sniper of the hour, onto the main stage. Because this is his epic face, reveal the comment section spirals into a total meltdown of suspense. While half the trolls are praying he looks totally busted, the camera tilts up, framing Sang-yoon rocking a crisp denim jacket. His razor-sharp jawline and piercing blue eyes instantly vaporize every single expectation. The chat practically combusts from the jaw-dropping reveal. A bunch of fans are straight up yelling betrayal, completely shook by his god-tier visuals, while the simps go crazy, flooding the screen with a massive tsunami of donos. Acorn Jelly totally loses his cool too, confessing he was just as starstruck in real life. The viewers are so massively stunned that some conspiracy theorists accuse him of slapping on a virtual beauty filter. When the veteran content creator polls the chat on whether they want a Q&A or pure gameplay, the mob is violently torn between drooling over Sang-yoon's gorgeous face and witnessing that legendary perfect shot. Amidst a blur of chat text, scrolling way too fast for our boy to even track, Gmok wrestles to keep the vibe somewhat professional before they plunge into the matrix. But the vibe violently screeches to a halt when Gmok asks for Sang-yoon's sync code, only to get hit with a blank, clueless stare. It hits them, our boy literally has no earthly clue what that even means. Gmok is utterly paralyzed by the shock, explaining that this exact code calibrates the gaming rig to your literal brainwaves. Since Sang-yoon completely skipped this basic step, he's basically been gaming with a gigantic debuff, practically lugging concrete blocks around. Backstage, Joo-hyuk violently facepalms, realizing he totally ghosted him on this absolutely crucial detail. This massive tech blunder is the exact reason Sang-yoon's rig literally bricked every single time he died. He just figured the devs designed the game to aggressively boot you as a hardcore penalty, but nah, his entire hardware was violently crashing because it wasn't synced. Gmok's jaw is permanently glued to the floor, realizing our guy is an absolute freak of nature, pulling off god-tier plays while hardcore lagging in real life. Sang-yoon completely eats up the hype, casually shrugging and agreeing he's probably a prodigy, which just makes the chat simp even harder. After finally running the sync, A blinding neon blue pulse locks Sang-yoon in. He drops into the VR realm, feeling insanely light and buttery smooth, finally tasting the digital matrix exactly as the devs intended. And Gmok is practically vibrating with hype, dragging him straight into a brutal goblin dungeon raid. Rolling up in the transport cart, Jmok breaks down the insane physics of the perfect shot. You literally have to thread the needle on a microscopic critical hitbox on the very first try. Since there are absolutely zero do-overs, it's easily considered top-tier difficulty. The sweaty pro-gamer tension cracks when Captain Roman rolls up, flexing his hilarious, totally biased favoritism. He brutally roasts Jmok for breathing too loud, literally threatening to slice him in two, but the second he pivots to Sang-yoon, he's all sunshine and golden retriever energy. Hitting the dungeon entrance, Roman barks at our boy to take the point and flex on the noob. Gliding stealthily through the thick brush, Sang-yoon instantly feels his controls are zero latency perfection. He knocks an arrow eyes, locking onto his prey with lethal focus, and starts deleting goblins with absolute terrifying aimbot precision. Every single release is a masterclass in lethality, casually hitting collats by pinning two mobs with one shaft. Jmok cowers behind his heavy shield, absolutely mind-blown that Almond instinctively nerfed his own audio footprint for the stealth wipe. He quickly catches on that, apart from the insane mechanical skill, Sang-yoon drips with a main character aura that makes him look like he's permanently basking in a cinematic spotlight. The second the final target drops dead, the broadcast proves our boy is the undisputed GOAT of this lobby. The cavern is literally painted with wiped-out green mobs as the glowing UI pops up, confirming a flawless clear of the trash mobs. With the smoke clearing, Captain Roman glares proudly at Almond, hyping up his god-tier wipeout while the squad gears up for the next sweaty phase. The live chat is absolutely going feral with sick excitement. Viewers keep pointing out that a death trap like this should normally be swimming in human blood. Acorn Jelly, on the other hand, is completely paralyzed with shock. He just stares as our boy stands there cool as ice, loosely gripping his bow. It finally hits him, a brutal stage practically built to slaughter an entire mercenary squad was just soloed by one single dude. Desperate to capture this insane milestone, Jmok sprints straight for his virtual camera. He screams at his viewers, hyping up the absolute broken power of the perfect shot. He practically begs them to understand that this wasn't just some basic elimination. It is a ridiculously rare game mechanic that triggers an instant wipe. But honestly, the chat isn't buying it. They start trolling him relentlessly, spamming that a headshot is literally just a headshot no matter how hard he tries to glaze it. But the massive flex session gets violently cut short. Roman suddenly thrusts his finger toward the thick, choking smoke pouring out of the cave entrance. He barks orders at the mercs to stack up dead brush and torch it, aiming to suffocate and flush out any leftover enemies hiding in the shadows. The goal is to wipe them out without dropping another drop of sweat. The squad stands completely still, their dark silhouettes cast against the roaring inferno. Suddenly, an ear-piercing demonic shriek shatters the silence, instantly nuking their strategy. A colossal, mutated green hand with razor-sharp claws violently smashes into the dirt. Ripping straight through the wall of fire, a towering goblin champion steps out. Its blood-red eyes lock onto them, massive, jagged tusks gleaming in the firelight. A harsh red system alert flashes across the screen, demanding they eliminate the goblin champion. The live chat absolutely detonates as the viewers finally clock what is happening. This is a full-blown raid boss. They immediately start spamming dares, hyping up Almond to see if his legendary perfect shot can actually delete a monster of this insane size. Roman roars at the squad to brace for impact. Meanwhile, a completely panicked Jmok screams at our boy, desperately reminding him that the ultimate shot conditions are locked in. Almond pulls back his bowstring, his eyes deadlocked on the target with terrifying focus. But a split second before releasing, he freezes and slowly drops his weapon. This sudden hesitation sends a massive shockwave of confusion crashing through the stream. Everyone is freaking out, wondering if our guy is actually choking under the extreme pressure. But nah, Almond just spotted a fatal flaw. The beast's face is locked away behind a massive, ridiculously thick, iron skull mask. With the beast's forehead heavily armored, a regular headshot is completely off the table. Our protagonist takes a split second to calculate, aiming for a different weak spot. But he already knows the truth. The brain is the ultimate kill switch, and honestly, the juiciest target. His eyes sharpen as the strategy clicks into place. With absolute ice in his veins, our hero pivots his stance and violently yanks his bow upward, aiming dead straight into the sky. The viewers are deeply confused. Half the chat is roasting him sarcastically, asking if he is rage-quitting the stream again. Tuning out the absolute chaos, Almond lets go. The arrow violently slices through the air, rocketing straight toward the glowing full moon. He figured out the ultimate cheat code, a perfect shot, just has to trigger the critical damage zone. It does not literally have to be a forehead strike. As the arrow hits maximum altitude and fiercely plummets, it dive bombs straight past the iron plating, brutally impaling the champion's skull from the very top. The sheer force of the impact is so monstrous that the monster's neck viciously snaps downward before its colossal body crash lands into the dirt like a falling skyscraper. Roman and J-Mock are instantly paralyzed, in dead silence. It takes a painfully long 3 seconds for their brains to process the glitch-level play. But when it clicks, the broadcast absolutely shatters. The chat logs blur into a frantic, hyperspeed waterfall of pure hype. J-Mock violently throws his hands to the sky, letting out an ear-shattering primal scream of victory, and right on cue, the big money starts raining down. A hardcore fan named Ruby Sword triggers the absolute madness with a massive 200,001 donation. The sheer weight of the alerts makes Almond instantly break into a nervous sweat. The relentless pinging pressure is almost too much to handle. Cutting back to the real-world studio, Sang-hoon drags his heavy, exhausted body out of the VR capsule. He is completely physically drained, muttering under his breath that even the absolute newest gaming rigs have totally trash cooling systems. Meanwhile, J-Mock and Nae-eun are literally hitting a victory dance over their record-shattering viewer count, breaking the hype. Nae-eun suddenly drops a bomb. The gaming stream actually crashed offline. The servers literally melted down because of the insane tsunami of wild chats and massive donations. Joo-hyuk casually walks into the room, tossing out the idea to boot the broadcast back up for a quick post-game interview. He wants to farm this viral momentum while it is red hot. So ignoring his ridiculously messy bedhead and absolute zero energy, Sang-hoon drags himself back in front of the lens right next to J-Mock. The face reveal hype is absolutely skyrocketing. The fans are literally spamming that he looks like a majestic Robin Hood trapped in an NPC's body. The vibes in the room are immaculate. J-Mock hilariously fires back at the savage chat for mercilessly roasting him about bawling his eyes out during that boss kill. But the chill atmosphere instantly shifts gears. When the donation alarm aggressively blares again, Joo-hyuk and Sang-hoon are left absolutely jaw-dropped. A massive whale named Seoji-ah casually tosses a staggering 1,000,000 won in a single swipe, followed closely by another 100,000 won drop. The wild part, she just did it because she thinks Almond is incredibly hot. To properly close out this legendary stream, J-Mock whips out a Q&A list voted straight from the fanbase. But nobody cares about his crazy gaming mechanics anymore. The entire chat is fiercely obsessing over Sang-hoon's personal life, demanding to know his secret skincare routine, what exact lip tint he is rocking. And the ultimate question is he taken? Our boy just hits them with his trademark brutal honesty, confessing he literally uses 0 special products and is completely single. As the golden sunset beautifully paints the city skyline, the whole squad kicks back, soaking in just how incredibly wholesome this entire journey has been, bonding over the chaotic yet beautiful reality of the streamer life. While packing up the gear, Joo-hyuk effortlessly flexes his elite management skills, sliding a premium gift box over to the hosting team, a super classy big brain move that leaves Sang-hoon deeply impressed. J-Mock suddenly pivots the vibe, deciding it's time to talk straight business. He whips out his tablet ready to flex the raw numbers their insane collab just pulled in. But that chill professional air instantly shatters into pure shock the second J-Mock flips the screen. Thanks to their stream completely breaking the internet, the display flashes a mind-bending estimated haul of over 5.3 million won. This astronomical bag makes Sang-yeon and Joo-hyuk literally choke on thin air, their brains short-circuiting at the sheer size of the payout. For just one day on the grind, our boy is utterly paralyzed, stammering out if this kind of cash is actually normal. But J-Mock shuts that down, admitting this run just shattered his own personal all-time record. Nyan, the manager, slides in with fresh coffee and casually drops the math after splitting the bag down the middle. Sang-hoon's cut is a staggering 2.7 million won. Hearing that, the two rookies fold in half, bowing intensely out of pure gratitude. But J-Mock waves them off, insisting he's the one who should be bowing for that god-tier gameplay. The chat naturally swerves into the gritty mechanics of how pro streamers actually stack their paper. Joo-hyuk is itching to understand the hustle, so J-Mock breaks it down. Dono dumps are a sweet flex, but the real consistent money printer, ads. He equates platform ad revenue to a base salary, one that endlessly levels up the more eyeballs you trap on the screen. Nyan chimes in revealing her ultimate boss move as a manager is locking down juicy third-party deals, juggling everything from game promos to high-end streetwear and cutting-edge tech sponsorships. She even name-drops J-Mock's current drip as a paid placement. Then, eyeing Sang-yoon's sharp main character visuals, she bets his trajectory is going to look way more like an A-list idol's. This immediately spawns a ruthless roast aimed straight at J-Mock. Neon mercilessly teases that while goofy-looking guys have to sweat for laughs, genetic lotto winners like Sang-yoon can literally print 90% of their bag on pure face card alone. The whole room cracks up as J-Mock gets publicly demoted to a tragic squid, but the vibes instantly anchor back to reality when Sang-yoon lays out his actual endgame. He's hyped about the financial blueprint but firmly states his soul belongs to raw, unfiltered game streaming. J-Mock and Nyan entirely respect his grind set, though they hint he should definitely tap into mainstream media down the line to detonate his sub count. They point to legends like Soggy, Ramyun icons who fiercely guard their gaming roots while still dominating national television broadcasts. J-Mock points out that for those Apex creators, slickly edited all-tube drops actually mutate into their primary goldmine, while the live streams just become a chill lounge for their hardcore fandom. Nyan heavily advises Sung-yoon to eventually crash this massive market, but she throws up a quick red flag. He's gonna need a beast of a video editor to actually survive, especially since Joo-hyuk doesn't know the first thing about timeline slicing. J-Mock tells them to just breathe, advising them to hunt for a post-production wizard later, once the channel actually blows up. The masterclass wraps up with solid handshakes in the echoing parking garage. As Sang-yoon and Joo-hyuk peel out, J-Mock is left standing in the freezing draft, completely paralyzed by pure awe. He confesses to Nyan that he is deeply, bitterly jealous. Sang-yoon's raw, monstrous talent is something you just can't buy. Later that night, Joo-hyuk parks along the curb, deep in Sang-yoon's quiet neighborhood. Catching his bro spiraling over all that heavy platform talk, he casually reminds him to chill with his God-given mechanics. Leveling up is basically a guaranteed lock. That reality check injects Sang-yoon with absolute confidence. As he starts climbing the rugged stone steps to his place, the biting winter wind triggers a hyper-vivid flashback of his late grandmother. He remembers hauling her heavy groceries, terrified she'd slip on the slick ice. A sharp blade of grief twists in his chest, gutted that she isn't around to witness him finally winning, especially on the exact day he pulled in enough cash to permanently upgrade their reality. Frozen on the steps, Sang-yoon stares intensely at his right hand, slowly crushing it into an iron fist. A massive wave of emotion hits him. Through all that chaotic high-stakes streaming, his arm didn't twitch a single time. The VR world has basically handed him a literal respawn. The exact limb that once brought him and his grandmother endless misery has instantly transformed back into his ultimate weapon. He honestly feels like all these new loyal allies were airdropped by her, fueling his absolute vow to grind relentlessly and honor their faith. Chuckling, he imagines her scolding him for risking it all on a wild new hustle, but he whispers a promise to the sky that he's never looking back. Meanwhile, the internet algorithm is already doing the heavy lifting. Every major gaming forum is practically melting down, blowing up with hype over his flawless snipes, and a god-tier fan edit of his broadcast is already blowing up across the editor community. J-Mark instantly connects the dots, knowing that with this insane level of hype, combined with his totally marketable visuals, it literally feels like the universe is handing Sanjun a golden ticket. Cut to a peaceful morning, broken only by birds chirping outside. Yoo Sang-hyun is chilling in his bathroom, towel drying his hair, while his brain runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Haunted by yesterday's heavy advice, he starts dissecting the two massive cash cows, keeping the streaming world spinning. He totally gets that while live broadcasts feast on super chats and view count ad revenue, the highly edited all-tube space survives completely on massive brand deals and top-tier sponsorships. Our boy connects the dots. His ultra-clean playstyle is a match made in heaven for that second option. This perfectly backs up Joo-hyuk's earlier read, pushing him to chase a straight-up celebrity status instead of just sweating it out as another run-of-the-mill gamer. His manager is so dead set on this glow-up that he's already aggressively pitching him for high-fashion commercial gigs. Even though Sang-hyun desperately wants to hit the brakes, reality crashes down on him. Our protagonist quickly clocks that scoring those fat sponsor checks requires a god-tier video editor. While doom-scrolling through viral Kingdom Age clips to scout some hidden talent, he accidentally clicks an insane Archer montage. His jaw literally drops, staring right back at him on the thumbnail, is his own avatar Almond. The creator, a die-hard fan going by SEO Gia, whom he instantly recognizes as the absolute legend who previously dropped a whopping 1,000,000 won donation, hitting play. He is completely mind-blown by the Hollywood-level production. She laced the edit with an epic thumping soundtrack, crazy, slick color grading, and actual storytelling. Watching himself slaughter bandits doesn't feel like a gaming stream anymore. It plays like a summer blockbuster. Even the master archer himself gets goosebumps watching his own savage gameplay, totally captivated by his piercing, neon yellow eyes glaring through the flawless Ultra HD screen. Skimming the fiercely hyped comment section, our boy knows he has to speed dial his manager right this second, but his screen lights up first. It's a text from Ju Hyuk, who is already glued to the exact same masterpiece. Since their bank accounts are basically crying right now and they can't throw around big salary numbers, Jo Hyuk takes the wheel to hustle this deal himself. He orders Sang Hyun to lock down zeroed-in focus on his gaming grind, while he tackles the shady behind-the-scenes networking, insisting they have to strike while the iron is literally melting. This massive hype hypes our hero up, sending him straight into his VR capsule to totally sweat it out. He completely owns up to the fact that while his aim is straight-up aimbot level, his raw physical stats in-game are still looking pretty mid. This makes brutal bone-crushing training totally non-negotiable if he wants to survive as a pure skill streamer. Our boy survives 3 agonizingly long hours tearing through punishing nightmare difficulty combat simulations. He pops the capsule lid, totally drenched in sweat and gasping for air, but the clock is ticking wildly, with zero time to catch his breath, before his upcoming livestream goes live on air. Starving and racing against the timer, he blindly snatches a random carton of milk and wolfs down a massive bowl of raw almonds. Crunching away, a massive wave of anxiety punches him in the gut. How is the sweaty gaming community actually going to react to his crazy recent collab and that absolutely viral fan edit? He knows the brutal truth of his exploding clout will smash him in the face the literal second he hits that go live button. Meanwhile, deep inside the corporate fortress of the mega publisher Funk, an exhausted employee is literally rotting at his desk in pure misery. He is drowning in guilt over the disastrous sales numbers of Kingdom Age, even though hardcore gaming critics slapped masterpiece ratings on it. He practically begs the universe for a legendary god-tier creator to crash out of the sky and resurrect this dying game, fully aware that hoping for a miracle on a casual non-esports title is just pure delusion. But his hopeless vibe shatters the instant he stumbles across the viral Almond fan edit. The slick editing hooks him, but he is completely hypnotized by the utterly savage, flawless mechanics of the player behind the bow. The corporate suit immediately clicks the puzzle pieces together. A totally cracked, ridiculously good-looking rookie is the ultimate golden goose for a massive marketing blitz. Spotting the account is literally only a few days old, he knows he needs to lock down a contract immediately before this kid's asking price hits the moon. He smashes that follow button just as an alert pops off, screaming that Almond is officially live. He frantically clicks into the stream. Absolutely desperate to witness this crazy gameplay, his jaw hits the floor as the live viewer counter violently spikes past 1,000 active watchers, screaming the truth that this total rookie is transforming into an absolute internet titan. Back in his room, Yu Sang-hyun low-key starts having a panic attack, staring at the 1,000+ users chilling in the waiting room, an insane mind-bending leap from his old ghost town metrics. As the counter brutally explodes past 1,100, our protagonist looks absolutely paralyzed, internally screaming, trying to figure out where this insane army just spawned from. Watching the chaos unfold from his own monitor, his manager Ju Hyuk is completely losing his mind, with fully grasping that tearing down that 1,000 viewer wall is the legendary rite of passage to officially join the big leagues as a pro-level streamer. But sadly, this massive tsunami of eyeballs brings a suffocating heavy-duty pressure. Back when he was carrying Acorn, Jelly and Neon, our boy, had straight-up veterans, steering the ship and handling all the stressful back-end chaos. But suddenly, he is left totally solo to wrangle a wild, hyperactive chat room. He completely freezes up for a split second, totally spaced out, making the viewers roast him as an absolute bot and beg for some audio. It suddenly hits him. Juggling 50,000 viewers during that massive crossover was purely thanks to the veterans carrying him. Now that he is flying solo, his palms are literally dripping with sweat. Desperately trying to lock in, our boy takes a deep breath and greets the stream instantly, feeling a massive rush of dopamine from their insane hype. The crowd instantly spams the chat, demanding to know why it is just audio, especially since his regular broadcasts never rocked a face cam before. Hordes of brand new followers are aggressively pushing for a face reveal. Sang-yoon watches a massive wall of text flood the screen about his looks, feeling the pressure spiking. Thank God Joo-hyuk shoots him a quick DM, dropping a link to a viral thread. The post literally has his name slapped on it, packed with highly edited, insanely aesthetic screenshots of his face from the recent collab. Framed by virtual roses, our guy realizes his actual, in-real-life identity is already plastered all over the web. Feeling like a total flexer but secretly eating up the clout, he finally smashes that camera button. The absolute second his face pops up in the corner frame, the chat absolutely erupts with hype and literal marriage proposals. Fat donations instantly start flooding the screen, with viewers clarifying they could not drop cash during that chaotic crossover but desperately wanted to fund him right now. Sang-yoon flashes a quick wave and drops a massive thank you for the insane energy before booting up the game. He plunges straight back into Kingdom Age right at sunset. Spawning in as his green-cloaked avatar Almond, he is instantly welcomed by the gorgeous blonde aristocrat Amelia, who heavily hypes up his cracked skills for wiping out the local goblin infestation. While the chat is busy simping over her insane visuals, the vibe drastically flips when Amelia abruptly grabs our main guy's hands and aggressively presses them right up against her chest. This wild level of skinship completely stunlocks the chat, dying to know how he speed ran her affinity meter so fast. Amelia's face goes dead serious, dropping the bomb that she has a secret quest for him. But she needs him to run it solo, totally ghosting Captain Roman. She gestures toward a looming fortress nearby and orders him to assassinate the ruling lord. This insane request completely rattles the entire stream. As the chat heavily trolls him, joking that she is basically sending him on a suicide mission, our guy locks in and smashes accept on his holographic UI. Meanwhile, a dev from the game's publishing company Funk is sweating buckets watching the broadcast. He knows from grinding the game relentlessly that clearing a full-blown siege quest armed with just a bow is straight up impossible. He thinks about how Kingdom Age fortress raids are legendary for their brutal difficulty, purely because the AI is incredibly cracked, and players constantly get hard swarmed. But the absolute final boss is the target himself, Lord Talaran. The dude is completely decked out in thick-plated armor from head to toe, literally the absolute worst matchup for a sniper. But then again, the dev suddenly realizes that if Sang-hyun actually clutches this, it will spark the exact hype needed to launch him as a god-tier legend inside the game. Almond officially locks in his choice, knowing deep down he has to gamble hard if he wants to blow up. He calculates that since the developers went crazy with the historical realism, the stronghold should not be massively overpowered, probably garrisoning a max of 50 guards. When he questions why the Lord has to get packed up, Amelia exposes Talaran as an absolute monster who actively enslaves his own citizens, using insanely predatory loan sharks, trapping innocent women and kids in the process. This hands our boy the perfect moral green light to wreck him. As a wolf violently howls beneath the glowing blood moon, Sang-hyun kicks off his stealth infiltration. He silently creeps through a dense cornfield toward the fortress, instantly feeling his avatar gliding with buttery smooth precision and making zero noise. This cracked agility is the pure payoff from that brutal, 3-hour hyper-focused training arc he grinded out earlier. But the first massive roadblock drops right at the outer walls, twin guards pacing the ramparts back to back. If he snipes one, the other is guaranteed to instantly trigger the panic alarms, while the chat ruthlessly roasts his setup, screaming that double-killing 2 armored targets with a single bow breaks all game physics. Our main character does not even flinch. His glowing yellow eyes lock onto the moonlight as he calmly tells his viewers he already drafted the perfect strat to permanently mute them, both simultaneously. As the cold moonlight flashes across his razor-sharp silver arrowhead, he perfectly lines up the impossible shot. The chat immediately starts calling, Cap absolutely convinced that firing off 2 arrows at the exact same time is just some cheesy Hollywood garbage that would never fly in a hyper-realistic world like Kingdom Age. But our guy doesn't even flinch. Instead, he steps right into the moonlight, ready to put on a clinic. Flexing his massive brain and perfect understanding of the game's physics engine, he breaks down his strategy, utilizing a massive parabolic arc to stall the first projectile's hang time. He points his bow practically at the moon and launches the first shaft straight into the stratosphere, instantly knocking a follow-up shot and ripping it straight toward the bridge. This galaxy brain play forces both projectiles to zero in on their marks, at the exact same millisecond. His aim is so flawlessly cracked that both guards take an arrow right to the dome before their brains can even process the threat. A flaming torch clatters to the cobblestones as their bodies slump over. Seeing this absolutely god-tier execution sends the chat into an utter meltdown, with viewers spamming Monster and hyping him up as a literal gaming deity for styling on the game live. While the stream is throwing a massive party, an esports scout over at Funk HQ is staring at his office monitor, his jaw glued to the floor. He quickly puts the pieces together. Out of all the Sweatlord pros and top-tier streamers he has scouted over the years, he has never witnessed raw mechanical talent quite like this. Sweating bullets, he instantly dials up his executive director, begging to lock down an urgent meeting to sign our boy, before a rival org swoops in and snatches up this generational talent. Cutting back to the fortress, the brutal reality of the raid starts crushing Sang-hoon. He barely claws his way up the towering stone walls, clinging desperately to the ledge with his stamina bar absolutely nuked. He mentally notes that this VR universe is straight-up torture for any cardio that doesn't involve pulling a bowstring. When the chat questions how he cheesed the climbing mechanic so smoothly, he flashes back to grinding endless parkour drills on Ultra Nightmare mode. After his lungs stop burning, he pivots to hiding the corpses to keep his stealth rating pristine. Sliding through the pitch-black shadows, he bumps into a roaming sentry, who is busy questioning where his lazy buddies wandered off to. Almond stays perfectly glued to the floor and sinks a whisper-quiet shaft straight through the dude's windpipe, guaranteeing he drops instantly without a single gurgle or blood splatter. As he drags the dead weight into the darkness, the stream chat starts backseating, warning him that the difficulty is about to spike insanely hard. The second he steps inside the keep, where dodging close-quarters brawls is basically impossible. Gearing up for the bloodbath, our MC slips into the armory and equips a stolen Red Guard uniform. Despite the armor feeling incredibly clunky and restrictive, his stealth run nearly gets exposed when a half-asleep watchman catches a glimpse of him. But Sang-hoon instantly deletes him with a ruthless point-blank shot straight to the heart. This suffocating tension hits our protagonist with a massive wave of nostalgia, dragging him right back to the icy, dead-focus flow state he used to tap into during his prime pro-gaming tournament days. Drowning in this adrenaline-fueled life-or-death sandbox, he genuinely feels his reflexes leveling up with every single stride. But his luck finally runs out when the heavy clanking of his boots pulls way too much aggro, causing the viewers to panic and type "good game" as a guard locks eyes with him and shrieks for reinforcements. Almond casually pins the guy's foot to the floor with an arrow. The chat assumes he's choking under pressure and missing shots, but he is actually big-braining the situation, turning the screaming mob into a human decoy. He keeps booking it through the winding stone hallways, letting loose a barrage of snapshots that completely fold the guards one by one. But even with his insane aimbot-level tracking, one dude manages to rip a deafening blast from a war horn, signaling a full-scale lockdown. Out of nowhere, the corridors get completely swarmed by heavily armored knights gripping nasty-looking spears and polearms. Our boy gets completely shoved into a dead end, trapped in a suffocating ring of sharp steel. The stream chat is holding its breath, completely clueless as to how he's going to clutch this up now that the entire fortress is hunting him down. A heavy hit squad of knights aggressively pushes forward, weapons raised and ready to impale him. They are absolutely roaring for his head, completely enclosing our lone archer. This massive difficulty spike makes the live chat freak out, considering the golden rule of playing a stealth assassin has been totally thrown out the window. But while the audience is typing their rip messages thinking it's game over, Almond stays chillingly cold-blooded. He flips the script in his head: stealth isn't broken if there's no one left breathing to report you. To wipe the massive mob, his hand becomes an absolute blur, yanking out 3 shafts simultaneously, while activating his rapid-fire ultimate ability. He pops off a blindingly fast machine gun-style volley of arrows that mercilessly pierce the Vanguard Knights dead center in their foreheads. The raw, ruthless efficiency of this massacre forces the entire backup squad to freeze in pure terror. Completely paralyzed by their teammates dropping like flies, one surviving grunt turns ghost white when he realizes that every single shaft is mathematically dead center in the visors of the corpses. Shaking violently, he starts screaming his lungs out that they aren't fighting a man but a literal raid boss. Screaming at each other to bolt the enemy line totally collapses as the guards practically trample each other in a desperate sprint up the stone staircase. But our boy does not even blink. He launches right into a full sprint, locking into a deadly rhythmic stride as he hunts them down. The live chat absolutely loses their minds, spamming the comments to ask how it is physically possible to snipe moving targets while running at max speed. Almond just brushes it off. He casually explains to his stream that landing these shots is all about raw, dialed-in focus, rather than relying on some overpowered in-game mechanics. He just keeps popping headshots mid-stride. One by one, the guards drop, until the staircase is painted with bodies, and the corridor goes dead silent. Reaching the top landing, our MC stands totally silhouetted against a blinding light, finally dropping his bow to his side. Swiping a bead of sweat off his jaw, he flashes the camera a crazy magnetic smirk. So he flexes, "How was the show, guys?" Naturally, the chat goes totally nuclear. The screen gets bombarded with a tidal wave of marriage proposals and viewers fangirling over his absolute god-tier visuals. Thanks to this insane gameplay, massive donations from heavy hitters like Ruby Sword and Thor start pouring in. Almond spots the crazy cash flow popping up on screen and gets super hyped, realizing his channel is finally blowing up. Riding this massive confidence boost, he swivels toward a massive arched doorway to hunt down the main boss. He shoves his weight against the colossal, iron-reinforced doors of the throne room, which groan violently as he steps inside. The vibe shifts instantly. Sitting dead still on a stone throne is a massive figure decked out in pitch-black plate armor. Almond is actually caught off guard because he totally expected some frail, old dude, but this guy radiates pure raid boss energy while gripping a ridiculously huge broadsword. Suddenly it clicks. This stealth mission was never a secret. The Lord had been sitting here waiting for him the entire time. Shattering the dead silence, the boss casually launches his massive blade, straight at our boy's head like a throwing knife. Almond dives to the floor just as the colossal steel chunk slams into the heavy wood behind him. "Did you really come here alone?" the Lord growls, his voice echoing with a dark metallic distortion through his visor. Things go from bad to an absolute nightmare when the boss snaps his fingers. Boom. 3 elite heavily armored knights spawn in to flank him. The viewers immediately start panicking. These mobs look literally invincible, completely sealed in heavy steel, without a single weak spot. The chat desperately screams at Almond to yank the giant broadsword out of the door and just swing it like a baseball bat. But our MC shuts that idea down fast. Wielding a clunky melee weapon he knows zero about is a guaranteed death sentence. He is a pure archer at heart, and he knows damn well that this game always provides a hidden mechanic for a player's specific build. Locking his golden eyes onto the lead knight's visor, he spots a microscopic weak point. Without hesitating, Almond explodes forward, sliding smoothly right under a brutal sword sweep. He draws and fires at point-blank range. The arrow blasts into the knight's visor with so much kinetic energy that the heavy steel helmet gets completely ripped off the guy's head. The chat goes entirely quiet, their jaws on the floor. Nobody even knew it was coded into the game, to literally blow an enemy's armor apart using just a bow. But Almond does not pause to celebrate. Flowing like water, he knocks a second shaft and lets it rip, sniping the second knight. His helmet violently pops off, ricocheting backward and smashing right into the third guard's face. With the first mob now totally exposed and raging forward like a madman, our hero gracefully sidesteps a wild flurry of slashes. He pulls his bowstring back until it groans and drives a savage shot directly between the guy's eyes. The knight drops dead instantly as Almond mutters a frosty "way too slow." After quickly deleting the other 2 mobs, Almond stands totally alone in the middle of the throne room, locking eyes with the final boss. The Lord gives a slow nod of respect before hauling his massive, terrifying frame up from the throne. Metal grinds against metal as this walking tank starts marching heavily toward our archer. The viewers are quick to notice a brutal detail. The boss's helmet is fully integrated, meaning it does not have the same detachable flaw as the minions. This guy is going to be incredibly tanky, but Almond does not even take a step back. Suddenly, raw, crackling magic begins swirling violently around his fingertips and the wood of his bow. He realizes his insane accuracy just triggered a hidden buff. Hitting 3 perfect headshots in a row has unlocked his ultimate skill requirement. His irises instantly flare up with an eerie neon blue glow. He smirks, getting ready to test if his crazy new theory is actually enough to shred a boss of this massive tier. Almond totally banks on his newly awakened passive to counter this unstoppable walking fortress. With his rapid-fire mode fully activated, he creatively turns the scattered arrows wedged into the stone floor into his own personal ground-level quiver. He crouches low, plucking shafts with ice-cold precision. Meanwhile, Lord Talon just stands there laughing off the threat and aggressively trash-talking our boy, boasting that little wooden sticks could never pierce his legendary armor. Even the live chat starts sweating completely, stressing over why Almond would ever bring a bow into such an insanely mismatched boss raid. But our MC stays dead frozen in his stance, his gaze radiating pure lethal focus. "I have figured out the cheat code, guys," he murmurs to the stream. Instantly, he lets a hypercharged arrow fly violently, slamming dead center into the boss's chest plate. The massive lord just brushes off the hit like it was a mosquito stepping forward to execute him. But our guy holds his ground. Instead of backing up, he unleashes a second shot that aggressively buries itself right into the exact same pixel of that heavy steel breastplate. This isn't just some random button mashing. He unleashes an absolute hurricane of arrows, stacking 40 back-to-back strikes on the exact same pixel of armor, generating enough friction to spit sparks like an industrial blowtorch. The colossal lord actually staggers backward, bulldozed by the sheer kinetic force of this machine gun assault. Rapid fire, the boss roars, absolute panic setting in as he realizes this sniper is surgically dismantling his impenetrable defense. One final volley smashes into the compromised plating, and the heavy steel finally splinters. Almond knocks his last shaft, calmly telling his chat, "That's game." He lets it rip. The projectile streaks forward like a neon green meteor, shattering the fractured chest plate and tunneling straight through the boss's heart. Pitch black blood sprays across the crimson rug. The second Talaran's massive corpse crashes into the floorboards, the livestream chat absolutely explodes into a blizzard of text. Fans are losing their minds over this insane clutch, with viewers memeing that the final boss died of a literal heart attack from pure intimidation. Suddenly, a massive purple super chat flashes across the screen. 300,001 dropped by a user named Kogia. Our boy is completely stunned by the astronomical tip, instantly recognizing the handle as one of his most legendary mega whales. We snap back to reality to uncover the mystery girl behind this massive bag of cash. Meet Seogia, currently getting crushed inside a deeply claustrophobic rush hour subway car. For her, the relentless grinding noise and shoving masses of the city are entirely soul-crushing. She craves nothing more than to sink into a totally silent, empty ocean. Dragging herself out of the terminal, she trudges up a dim, sketchy staircase to her tiny apartment. In this bleak routine, tuning into Almond's broadcasts is her absolute lifeline. She originally clicked on his channel just because his username matched the honey butter almonds chilling on her computer desk. Now, safely in her sanctuary, Gia stares at her monitor with wide, flushed cheeks. The second Almond obliterates the supposedly unbeatable raid boss. She squeals in triumph and smashes her keyboard. She flexes that 300,001 donation simply because she refuses to be out-simped by the rest of the chat. To her, buying a slice of pure serotonin is worth every single penny. Hearing Almond call out her handle and admit he recognizes her vibe sends an electrifying jolt of happiness through her system, already craving his next shoutout. Cutting back to the present, Sang Yoon pops the hatch of his gaming rig. Exhausted but insanely hyped, he mentally reviews how tweaking his playstyle totally salvaged the climax of tonight's broadcast. Yet his brain keeps circling back to Gia. He's honestly stressing that some broke high schooler is nuking their savings account on his channel, and the sheer weight of that cash drop has him feeling incredibly guilty. Meanwhile, our superfan is already locked into her high-tech editing bay. She quickly figures out that her fancy corporate software is the ultimate tool for cooking up top-tier frag movies of his sickest plays. Scrubbing furiously through the timeline, she's dead set on one thing. As Almond levels up his fame, the cinematic masterpieces she drops are only going to hit harder. Fast forward to the next morning and Sang Yoon is violently yanked from his sleep by a buzzing phone. It's his manager Ju Hyuk. After roasting each other over the ungodly hour and swapping a sarcastic joke about grabbing Italian food, the vibe shifts to serious business. They are on a frantic manhunt for Seogia, the editing prodigy who cooked up that internet-breaking bow and arrow compilation. The problem, Ju Hyuk reveals her profile is locked down tighter than a vault, and she's completely ghosting the comment section. Hitting a massive brick wall, the manager pitches a sneaky backup plan. Just wait for her to drop another mega tip during a broadcast and ambush her in the chat. But our guy immediately shoots down that sketchy idea. He demands a legitimately professional approach. They ultimately agree to play the waiting game, even if it totally sabotages their recruitment timeline. Desperate to flush this corporate stress from his brain, Sang Yoon switches into hyper-cleaning mode. He wrestles a grotesquely swollen garbage bag out the front door and starts navigating the insanely steep, crumbling concrete steps of his mountainside block. He tries to gaslight himself into enjoying the miserable trek, framing it as a free cardio session and preaching that brutal grinds always get easier over time. But his peaceful zen is violently interrupted when a heavy metal door blasts open on the landing, colliding straight into his face with bone-rattling force. A girl rocking a black baseball cap and midnight hair, who is ironically Seogia herself, scrambles outside in absolute terror to check the damage. As our streamer sits parked on the concrete, massaging a growing knot on his skull, Gia just stares down at him, paralyzed by mind-blowing disbelief. Shaking off the heavy concussion vibes, he waves her off and swears he's chilling, grabbing his garbage bag to finally finish his dreadful chores. Moments later, while he's sorting plastics by the dumpsters, his phone rings again. It's Joo-hyuk screaming his lungs out because Gia just dropped a fresh masterpiece titled The Lone Sniper Who Conquered the Fortress. The upload is already going incredibly viral, racking up tens of thousands of live views and skyrocketing straight to the top of the gaming algorithms. The manager casually drops that he pinned a business inquiry in the comments, though they are still blindly praying she actually reads her notifications. Right as he hangs up, the phantom door slammer comes sprinting down the alley, totally out of breath from chasing him down. Sang-yoon naturally assumes he dropped his wallet, but instead Gia thrusts a tiny notepad and a Sharpie directly into his chest. Blushing furiously, she begs for his autograph. The sheer absurdity hits our boy like a truck, forcing him to realize that even in his deadbeat neighborhood, he's a certified superstar. Realizing he just crossed paths with an absolute superfan, our guy asks for her name to customize his autograph. She drops the reveal she is Seo Gia. This crazy stroke of luck completely nukes their communication roadblock. Fast forward, and the trio is huddled up in a cozy cafe to hash out a massive partnership. They dive straight into business, and Joo-hyuk uncovers that Gia actually majored in video production and still grinds at it as a hardcore hobby. Suddenly, her god-tier editing skills make total sense. He doesn't waste a single second, smoothly sliding a sleek, formal contract right across the table, flat out inviting her to join the squad full-time. But catching that brief flash of hesitation in her eyes, Joo-hyuk pivots to a brutal reality check regarding the legal nightmare of fan edits. He bluntly explains that copyright strikes will permanently block her channel from making a single dime. This totally blindsides Gia, since chasing the bag was never her goal anyway. Honestly, her previous 1,000,001 donation already proved she is fueled purely by die-hard fan loyalty, not corporate greed. Reading the room, Joo-hyuk realizes cash isn't her driving force, so he switches gears, aiming straight for the heartstrings. He stresses that the Almond channel is literally desperate for her talent, and her signature aesthetic is simply one of a kind. Our hero jumps into the pitch, confessing he has been hunting for her for ages and craves her creative genius. Hearing that she is genuinely needed flips a switch inside Gia. She has been wandering desperate for a real purpose. Her cheeks flush a deep red. Gripping her iced coffee, she practically glows. Totally overwhelmed by their raw sincerity, she promises to mull it over, but drops a major bombshell that could derail the whole plan before they even start. Her soul-crushing corporate job strictly bans side hustles. To become Almond's official editor, she has to quit on the spot. She is agonizing over the choice. Passion is great, but she still needs a reliable paycheck to keep a roof over her head, and banking her survival on unpredictable YouTube views is a terrifying gamble compared to her comfy salary. Basically, she needs a rock-solid base pay to take the plunge. This raw honesty sends Sang-hyun into full panic mode. The dude hasn't even been streaming for a full week. He is so broke he can barely buy his manager a coffee, let alone fund a full-time salary. Just as our hero nervously suggests, they hit the brakes and think it over. Joo-hyuk flashes a wicked smirk and whips a digital proposal onto his laptop screen. Boom. It is an email from the legendary game distributor Punk. They want to lock him in as a partner streamer. And the craziest part, this god-tier package includes a massive dedicated budget, specifically to cover an editor's paycheck. Just like that, the money problem vanishes into thin air. Gia gasps, slapping a hand over her mouth, while our boy sits there completely mind-blown that an industry titan actually wants to sponsor him. Gia stares at the laptop screen, a fiery resolve suddenly burning in her eyes. Screw thinking about it, she grabs the pen and locks in the contract right then and there. Watching her, Sang-hyun gets it. Sure, it is a massive life pivot, but honestly, she was probably clawing at the walls to escape her toxic office. It is a vibe he relates to on a spiritual level. Joo-hyuk crunches the numbers, throwing down a guaranteed base salary of 25 million, one a year stacked with a 40% slice of all YouTube revenue. Or the high-risk route, a straight 50-50 split, with zero base pay. Opting for the safety net of a guaranteed paycheck, Gia officially inks the deal. The second they step out of the coffee shop, Joo-hyuk promises to hit her up the minute the punk platform negotiations are locked in, prompting Gia to question the fate of her previous edits. The manager breaks it down, explaining they gotta wipe the old stuff and drop it straight onto the official channel to keep the branding tight. The second she bows and dips out, Sang-hoon snatches his manager's sleeve, demanding to know if this whole punk contract is just some massive bait and switch. Joo-hyuk takes absolute offense to that swearing up and down. He literally read the email that morning, and the payout is way too insane to pass up. Strolling through the bustling city streets, Joo-hyuk points out that their new editor gave off total Ice Queen vibes, deadpanning the entire meeting without cracking a single smile. Sang-yoon shrugs it off, reminding him that being a hardcore fan is a whole different ballgame from locking in a legally binding business deal. But the manager is still totally thrown by her poker face, especially after dropping those massive donations. Little do they know her stoic facade is an absolute lie. The absolute millisecond her apartment door clicks shut, she practically launches herself across the room, swan diving onto her mattress. Thrashing her legs in a chaotic burst of pure dopamine, she muffles a massive, high-pitched squeal straight into her pillow. Her face is practically burning red. Linking up with her absolute idol in the flesh and scoring the editor gig literally feels like a fever dream. Staring down at that freshly inked paper, the reality hits her. She just hard-launched her escape from that wildly toxic corporate hellscape. Flashbacks hit of her garbage ex-bosses and snobby co-workers, constantly trashing her for holding a community college degree. They constantly gaslit her into thinking she'd never level up, but scrolling through the massive hype in the comment section of her recent almond edits finally gives her the ultimate validation. Curled up in the blankets, a wave of pure bliss washes over her. Meanwhile, back at his own gaming setup, our protagonist decides to fire up the stream way ahead of schedule. But right as he's about to hit go live, Gia shoots him a message with a file simply dubbed intro video. Sang-yeon's jaw practically hits the floor when he opens a brutally clean cinematic intro sequence paired with custom audio. And she managed to cook this up in the razor-thin window since they literally just parted ways. She quickly clarifies she didn't just speedrun the whole edit but had been tweaking it as a massive passion project for weeks. Blown away by the AAA production value, our hero is straight up dumbfounded by her god-tier skills when she actually goes try-hard. He shoots back a hyped-up thank you and slams that go live button. Push notifications instantly explode across thousands of fans' screens, flooding the chat with over 200 instant click-ins. But the second that crazy cinematic intro drops, the viewer count utterly skyrockets past 1,200. The chat completely loses its mind, instantly recognizing Gia's signature editing style and immediately guessing the GOAT has officially been drafted. Sang-yoon flips on the face cam, hyping up the chat and shouting out massive gifters like Ruby Sword and Eggplant right before plunging back into the virtual grind. He loads straight back into the fortress, stepping over the brutal aftermath where mangled guard corpses still litter the cold stone. He smirks at the camera, telling chat that since he literally solo wiped the entire stronghold, it's only fair he vacuums up all the top-tier loot. Cracking open a massive heavy chest, he strikes gold, revealing 3 intensely glowing legendary tier bows, snagging the absolute most menacing. One of the bunch, he also straps on some beefy new armor and a slick forest green cape, complaining that the game's annoying weight limit is the only thing preventing him from basically robbing the place blind. Now rocking god-tier defense and dodging the one-shot kill risk, he casually swings up onto his mount to go turn in the bounty. Thanks to the game's fast travel mechanics, the sky rapidly warps from pitch black to broad daylight, right as he pulls up to Amelia's heavily guarded carriage. He chills in the brush until he catches her eye. The elegant noblewoman practically does a double take, utterly shook to see him back so fast. Dragging him aside into the shadows, she fully assumes he chickened out or botched the run, only for Almond to casually drop the bomb that the objective is already wiped. It's literally been 48 hours in-game. Amelia's brain practically short circuits trying to process his insane speedrunning. He starts casually listing off his prep and travel phases, while the Twitch chat absolutely loses it, spamming laughing emojis. Since in real-world time, our boy clapped the whole map in a single day, but the NPC's confusion hits a brick wall when Amelia stammers out that she explicitly paid for a stealthy covert assassination. Our boy just flashes a wicked smirk, casually explaining that since the stealth routes were way too annoying, he simply decided to butcher every single living soul inside the fortress. Amelia just freezes in sheer horrified silence at this absolutely unhinged interpretation of a stealth mission. She physically has to cover her mouth violently, trying to reboot her brain, while the chat is literally dying of laughter at the NPC's traumatized reaction. Finally, snapping out of her stunned state, she nervously double-checks if the massive stronghold is actually completely dead empty. Almond deadpans that there's zero pulse left in that building, forcing a sudden realization onto Amelia they need to strike right this second. She aggressively pivots, declaring they have to roll out immediately to shield the locals and lock down the entire zone for the January bloodline, before any greedy rival aristocrats can swoop in and snake the territory. Driven by pure tactical urgency, she barks orders at her guards to prep the transport immediately, and as the heavy wooden wheels rumble forward, Amelia waves Almond over, urging him to ditch the foot soldiers and share the carriage ride with her. Catching him completely zoned out, she practically drags him inside her cheeks, burning bright red as she confesses she has a million burning questions for him. The livestream chat absolutely loses its mind over this massive W, pointing out that soloing a fortress is basically the ultimate cheat code for speedrunning a romance route. As the wheels rumble down the dusty trail, the cabin chat shifts to Almond's insane carry. Amelia is straight up mind-blown by his broken power scaling, admitting that not even the absolute top-tier knights could pull off a stunt like that. Our guy totally plays it cool, casually brushing off the massive hype, claiming his cracked bow skills are just a lucky fluke. Dropping the reality check that he is a freelance merc and not some noble knight, Amelia shoots her shot, asking if he would ever claim an official lord title to run the newly snatched fortress. Sang-hoon instantly drops a reality bomb, knowing a peasant background makes that a massive long shot. This leaves Amelia visibly crushed for a second, but she smoothly pivots, dropping the bombshell that her father is dying to meet the legend himself. When he tries to piece together how the Earl got the tea so incredibly fast, she playfully presses a finger to his lips, teasing that a true gentleman never questions a lady's info brokers. When the massive stone gates of Talleyrand finally loom overhead, the local peasants are completely clueless, terrified that a new raiding party just dropped. Amelia confidently steps out of the ride, broadcasting their banner from Jan. Heavy whispers ripple through the crowd with a few brave souls debating if they should throw hands, but the realists instantly shut that down, pointing out that Talleyrand's military just got brutally wiped off the map, leaving them zero defense anyway. The shredded red and black flags of the old era hit the dirt, replaced by a massive gleaming golden banner, rocking a pristine white flower crest that violently snaps in the wind above the ramparts. Almond questions if they need to drop a boss speech to assert dominance, but Amelia predicts the locals will just vibe with the new management, without needing a whole cinematic cutscene. Fast forward 7 days, and the zone gets a complete glow-up. Since the locals were literally suffocating in debt, and one step away from chains, the new squad lets them grind off their massive tabs through honest, fair work, while actually letting them pocket some cold, hard cash for once. This massive shift injects totally new life into the dead ghost town. Amidst all the massive leveling up, Amelia catches Almond gazing out the glass and gently reminds him about the big boss meeting with her father tomorrow. The vibe gets super intimate, hands interlocking in the golden hour lighting while the stream chat ruthlessly roasts them for breaking the world record on an NPC romance run. But the cozy vibes are violently ripped away by the ear-splitting screech of a silver war horn. The massive panic drags them straight to the battlements, where they are met with the jaw-dropping sight of an absolute massive coalition army, completely blocking out the horizon, thirsty to snatch their base back. While Amelia is literally trembling in her boots, Almond is completely locked in, coldly promising to completely wipe the invasion force. Down in the courtyard, Merc Captain Roman steps up, hyping the absolute hell out of the troops to bleed for Lady Jan's honor. As the garrison erupts into a bone-rattling war cry, the camera dramatically zooms in on our main guy's piercing, glowing golden eyes. The epic genre shift from quiet stealth drops into full-blown siege warfare, made completely official by a massive final quest prompt, slamming onto the screen, demanding Almond to solo carry this defense to an absolute W. The perspective snaps back to the virtual battleground, where endless ranks of heavy armor stand locked and loaded. The stream's live chat absolutely erupts with pure hype over the insane cinematic scale of this fight. Viewers are completely mind-blown that our guy speedran to this boss stage in literally days, pointing out that even the sweatiest hardcore creators normally rage quit before ever unlocking this content. A few fans start dropping comparisons to a rival named Bubblegum, but Almond swiftly jumps in to moderate, asking chat to chill on name, dropping other creators out of pure respect. catching a super chat praising his massive level up in content quality. Our absolute gigachad flashes a cocky thumbs up. Then he drops the nuke, announcing he is cutting the feed right here immediately, sending the entire chat into an absolute meltdown because they were literally just reaching the climax, totally ignoring the endless sobbing and begging in the comments. He drops a smooth thank you to his viewers and ruthlessly kills the stream with a sharp flash to black. Snapping back to the real world, Sang-hoon is chilling in his pitch-black bedroom glued to his screen. A wicked smirk crosses his face as he doom-scrolls through the desperately crying fans, fully knowing he just pulled off the most legendary cliffhanger ever to farm maximum hype. He flashes back to a masterclass tip from J-Mock about the massive psychological power of pulling the plug on a heavy narrative game exactly when they crave more, even if it leaves them totally salty today. Diving into the Reddit community boards, he spots a massive trending guide on how to max out Lady Amelia's affinity meter. The absolute mad lads in the thread joke that the hack is stupidly easy. Simply solo an entire heavily guarded fortress all by yourself. The comment section is absolutely losing its mind. Some viewers are treating it like a hardcore tutorial, while others are straight up boycotting the game because it looks way too brutal. But Sang-yoon is just sitting there scratching his head. To him, the gameplay felt like a breeze, so the fact that everyone is sweating over the difficulty makes zero sense. He's scrolling through endless replies, crowning his performance as world-class and calling him an absolute legend. Rolling over in bed, he stares at the ceiling, wondering if a real-life pro archer could pull off those crazy shots just as effortlessly. He starts second-guessing himself. Is he secretly a VR prodigy? Or is his insane ability to lock in and focus just that overpowered? Sure, archery demands laser-sharp focus, but he doesn't believe that's a superpower reserved only for pro athletes. Shrugging it off, he clicks into a massive thread, breaking down his exact playstyle. The original poster drops some seriously high-level details, pointing out that his posture rivals actual pros, and his bowstring tension is flawless. This stops our boy dead in his tracks. The person behind this breakdown is no random casual, especially when they openly claim to be a former competitive shooter. Sang-yoon's knuckles turn white as he grips his phone. His mind races, trying to figure out who it could be considering almost everyone from his past completely ghosted him. He drifts back a whole decade. Back then, only his coach knew the brutal truth that a tragic accident and devastating injury forced him to quit. The memory drags him straight into a flashback, bathed in the orange glow of a 10-year-old sunset. A girl with flowing dark hair blocks his path, demanding to know if he's actually walking away. He just stares back deadpan, lying that drawing a bow just isn't fun anymore. Her voice cracks as she screams in pure desperation, begging to know who is supposed to lead the team if their ace suddenly abandons them. But he doesn't flinch. He coldly insists he's done for good and walks off, leaving her completely shattered on the path as the sun fades. Snap back to the present. The forums are practically on fire with debates about Almond's upcoming siege defense, questioning if he can actually survive that many back-to-back nights. Strolling down the steps in his neighborhood, Sang-yoon actually loves the doubt. The intense hype and engagement just fuel his fire. He catches COJ outside her door and casually invites her for a walk. Her eyes light up, hinting that she has something epic to show him. They chill on a park bench, and as Sang-yoon tosses her a water bottle, Gia eagerly whips out her phone. She pulls up the fresh, highly edited cuts she cooked up for his channel. Her cheeks flush red as she stammers about uploading them straight to his official page. The edit kicks off with a raw clip from his debut stream slapping a massive graphic on screen, proving his account was literally barely 24 hours old. It flashes the chat going feral, begging him not to pick the notoriously trash-tier bow, but he violently locks it in anyway. The pacing is insanely fast, dropping a nasty montage of him landing back-to-back headshots and completely shutting up the haters. Taeyoung is absolutely blown away by the slick hologram visual effects and the chaotic high-energy pacing that makes it impossible to look away. His favorite part, the pop-up chat reactions perfectly timed to the kills, showing viewers accusing him of being a massive smurf on a burner account. He looks Gia dead in the eye and calls the video an absolute masterpiece. He hypes up the punchy, highlights the crispy graphics and the hilarious chat integration. Gia practically short-circuits. Her head spins, completely overwhelmed by his intense shower of compliments. Catching her breath, she explains her strategy: they need to hold off and drop 3 or 4 of these bangers all at once to let the algorithm feast and build insane momentum. He begs her to keep the edits exactly in this vibe, and Sang-hoon happily agrees. Fast forward to later that night, Gia absolutely faceplants onto her bed. She's drained but buzzing with pride from his validation. Just as she's grinning about their massive brainstorming session, her phone buzzes. She totally assumes it's Almond, but the smile instantly wipes off her face. The screen lights up, revealing a chilling new text from a specific contact, saved purely as psycho bastard. Meanwhile, the internet is practically frothing at the mouth, waiting for Sangyun's next legendary move. The Kingdom Age community is at absolute peak hype. Hardcore gamers and bored office workers alike are flooding the subreddits theorizing about his massive upcoming siege. The energy is so off the charts that when our protagonist hits the go live button, a full 4 hours ahead of schedule, his viewer count absolutely skyrockets. Even with the weird timing, people are secretly tuning in from their desks at work and hiding their phones in class. Everyone just wants to witness the server's very first archer tackle a brutal siege challenge. Facing a chat that's moving at the speed of light, our boy just flashes a cool, collected smile. He casually mentions he went live early, because today's run is going to be a massive grind. Without another word, he fully dives into the virtual world. The virtual air instantly feels heavy, vibrating with the thumping of war drums. Our hero spawns right at the front line of an epic battlefield, rocking a brand new pristine blue cloak and a pitch-black quiver. He's backed up by mercenary Captain Roman, who is acting way too buddy-buddy today. The giant warrior playfully nudges him, teasing our boy about his suspiciously close bond with Lady Amelia, who is currently staring them down from the high castle walls. This goofy banter completely melts the brains of veteran players in the chat. They only know Roman as a miserable, grumpy NPC, which just proves how insanely our protagonist's crazy charisma has totally rewritten the game's social code. But the chill vibes are cut short. A massive war horn shatters the silence, triggering a terrifying full-scale cavalry charge. While the two armies violently crash together in a deafening roar of clashing steel and thunderous hooves, a system prompt pops up, asking if Sangyun wants to pass the commander role over to the AI. He instantly clicks yes, completely unchaining himself to hunt down a much deadlier target. Staring dead into his virtual camera, our guy hypes up the chat and coldly declares his master plan, a one-man assassination mission straight for the enemy leader's head. Rocking that golden armor, this insanely cocky flex instantly baits a mission donation from a viewer going by the handle Shane Napoleon, who drops a crazy bounty 10,001 for every single body. Sunghyun drops, and our guy instantly smells a massive payday. Our boy gladly takes the bait, tossing out a smug little warning that this dude better have seriously deep pockets to risk a gamble like this. To squeeze out maximum hype and rack up the highest kill count, Almond goes completely ghost slithering solo through the tall weeds. He scopes out the enemy patrol from the brush, flashing back to some solid advice Acorn Jelly gave him about how mission donations are the absolute lifeblood of streaming. Checking his quiver, he counts exactly 80 arrows. He does the quick math. If he connects every single headshot he is looking at, a smooth 1,000,001. For him, this isn't just about securing the bag. It is the ultimate way to crank up the stream's tempo and keep his chat absolutely hooked by dragging out the bloodbath. The ambush kicks off with a barrage of dead silent sniper shots erasing grunts from the map, way before they even clock that they are being hunted. Pure panic completely shatters the enemy formation. Thanks to his broken, perfect shot mechanic, tracing his arrows is practically impossible. The second, a desperate sergeant tries to bark orders and rally his squad, Sunghyun just shuts him up with a ruthless point-blank arrow straight through the skull. But this insane flex of lethal accuracy finally blows his cover as a scout catches movement in the southwest brush and screams for the commander. But instead of dipping out, our MC does not even flinch. He casually pulls exactly 20 arrows, slamming them point first into the dirt right at his feet. Smirking at his completely stunned chat, he announces that, since a massive wave of 20 grunts is rushing his spot, he only needs 20 shots to wipe them out. What drops next is an absolute masterclass in gaming mechanics. As the mob floods the woods, Almond pops his rapid-fire consecutive shooting skill. A blinding blur of neon blue arrows shreds the air, snapping to every single enemy's dome with terrifying robotic speed. In less than a heartbeat, all 20 attackers are dropped flat into the dirt, while a blazing system timer flashes the end of his kill streak. Sunghyun just stands there over the bodies, his bow still glowing with residual energy. He casually checks his balance, hyped that he just pocketed 230,001 from one single wave. His execution is so brutally perfect that the surviving NPCs are literally tripping over themselves, begging for backup. Cutting back to reality, his editor, Seo Jia, is glued to her screen, her face flushed with absolute awe. She is completely obsessed with his ice-cold confidence, realizing his insane god complex is not just talk, but is backed up by raw, undeniable skill. It suddenly clicks for her. This is exactly why viewers are obsessed. He perfectly nails the vibe of an untouchable gaming god that everyone wants to be. As the stream rolls on a massive tidal wave of donations, floods the screen from fans completely hyped by this slaughter. Almond locks in, pulling his bowstring taut before letting an arrow rip across the battlefield, sniping a runner right through the back of the skull. This cold-blooded headshot sparks a glowing gold system alert for a 40-kill streak, making his chat absolutely lose it, memeing that since nobody lived to tell the tale, this bloodbath technically counts as a stealth mission. Our guy chill checks his inventory and sees exactly 40 arrows, left a detail that perfectly times with a completely desperate crying donation from the whale himself, Shane Napoleon. Because the bounty multiplier has scaled so insanely out of control, the poor dude is literally begging for his life in chat, asking to be shot instead, totally panicking as his debt hits a staggering 400,001, way quicker than he ever planned for. The sheer magnitude of this slaughter finally reaches the top brass, where a gold-plated commander watches his troops drop in pure disbelief. Completely mind-blown that one single archer just deleted 20 of his elite guards, he goes into panic mode, screams for a massive wave of 40 heavy hitters to push the front line. But as the mob charges in the chat leaks a crazy detail, Shane Napoleon is actually sitting on over 1,000,001 in his wallet, making all his previous crying look like total cap. Tucking away in his real-life setup, Yu Sung-hyun is absolutely floored hearing about that kind of insane cash. The smell of real money dials up his focus to 100%. He smirks at the cam, promising chat that if the bag is really there, he is emptying out every last drop of that 1,000,001. Fueled by pure greed, our MC pops his rapid-fire skill again, dropping an absolute meteor shower of arrows straight onto the advancing squad. Even with officers screaming their lungs out to hold the line, Almond's heat-seeking shots absolutely shred through the ranks, with brutal precision. The front line turns into an absolute meat grinder, getting so chaotic that even his hardcore fans start sweating, spamming the chat for him to take cover. Why? Because moving while locking onto this specific skill usually tanks your accuracy completely. But Almond totally ignores the game's meta. He snaps into a cracked high-speed dash, dodging a lethal arrow that slams into the exact pixel he just left. A split second later, he's styling on the battlefield, pulling off a sick mid-air flip to nail a counter-snipe that deflects an incoming shot mid-flight before absolutely dropping the enemy archer. By the time the clearing falls totally silent, the forest floor is just completely carpeted with bodies. Our guy stands victorious over the fallen loot and flexes to the chat that his current bag just hit 710,001. The last few enemy stragglers are literally frozen in terror, completely traumatized by his absolute aimbot-level attack speed. One survivor completely panic sprints for the hills, but Almond is already tracking him. Right as he lines up the execution, he realizes he's completely out of ammo after spamming 80 high-octane shots. Meanwhile, the stream donor starts hyping up the enemy's lucky break, but Almond refuses to leave this on an L. He literally sprints after the running soldier, and in a wildly savage flex, rips an arrow straight out of a dead guy's skull to load it into his bow. The final shot is a dead center hit, wrapping up the quest with a brutal 60-kill streak. A massive mission-cleared banner pops up on the HUD, and Shiny Napoleon honors the bet, dropping a massive 1,000,001 donation. Even though the donor admits his wallet is crying, Almond hypes up the massive W. But honestly, lore-wise, this victory feels incredibly empty. Back at the stronghold, the NPC army starts glazing a knight named Sir Robert, giving him all the credit for the massive win. The chat is absolutely seething at the disrespect, spamming that Almond hard-carried the entire fight, while the knights literally just stood around. Even our usually chill main character looks super bummed out, realizing that racking up a 100-kill game still wasn't enough to get him on the radar. The vibe shifts from combat hype to financial drama when Captain Roman walks up to Almond looking incredibly stressed. He drops a massive apology for the knight's toxic behavior, exposing that Sir Robert is only going to pay them the bare minimum wage. This completely ignores the mercenaries' insane carry. When Roman tries to push back, Sir Robert catches the conversation and hits them with a freezing, super toxic elitist smirk. The arrogant knight totally trashes the mercenaries' gameplay, claiming real knights put their lives on the line while mercenaries just camp for survival. This massive disrespect makes Roman clench his fists in pure rage, while Almond just awkwardly stands by watching the drama unfold. Taking in the commander's insane ego, our boy internally nods, realizing this is just classic NPC prejudice against his class. He knows it's absolute cap since mercenaries literally have to grind reputation and build trust to keep their guild afloat. They actually have to sweat for every win. Roman is stun-locked for a second, but then his face shifts into absolute focus. Staring down the arrogant knight, he spits back that it's pretty pathetic to just trash their hard-earned respect the second the raid is over. Defending his squad's massive contribution, Roman directly points at Almond and drops the ultimate flex that this lone archer soloed 100 enemies. He challenges the knight, asking if he still thinks they were away from keyboard. Sir Robert just bursts into toxic laughter and his squad backs him up. They treat the idea of an archer dropping 100 bodies like an absolute meme. The stream chat immediately rages over this massive disrespect, with viewers spamming to just PvP Robert right then and there. Roman's fists are literally shaking from the anger, but he swallows his pride, since the level difference is just too huge. He shoots Almond an incredibly guilty, pained look. Suddenly, a massive commotion crashes the scene. A VIP completely dripping in insane golden armor steps up, radiating absolute boss energy. Almond instantly clocks their high-tier noble aura and realizes they're a top-ranking NPC, especially since Robert is suddenly sweating bullets. The Golden Knight completely ghosts Robert's pathetic stuttering and loudly calls out the general for shamelessly stealing the MVP credit for the castle raid. Spotting Almond and Roman in the crowd, the VIP zeroes in on our boy. The high-tier commander asks if he's a knight, but Roman quickly intercepts, clarifying that he's a mercenary. This makes the armored VIP lock eyes with our hero, asking if he's actually the legend who solo-wiped 100 mobs. Sir Robert desperately tries to call cap, trashing the idea of an archer hiding in the backline and somehow pulling off those stats. The VIP shoots the knights a disgusted glare straight up, calling them brain dead for doubting it. They slowly take off their helmet, asking Almond if he actually wants to stay partied up with a squad that completely disrespects his carry. Gorgeous long dark blue hair cascades down, and the chat absolutely loses its mind, realizing this commander is a top-tier waifu, rocking piercing blue eyes. It's literally Rosanita, the game's second main heroine. She drops an immediate party invite on the spot, sending the stream into maximum overdrive because she's spawning way out of her usual zone. A sudden dialogue prompt flashes right in front of Almond, giving him two high-stakes options. He can either glaze her and accept the invite, or reject it by saying he's already locked into another guild. Our protagonist is sweating over the choice, fully distracted by how insane the devs made Rosanita's character model, while the chat is screaming at him, totally split on what he should pick. Almond reflects on his massive journey alongside Amelia, feeling a profound bond with her, since she has been riding with him since day one. Right as Rosalita corners him for an answer, our boy literally punches the logout button, pulling the plug on the stream with the ultimate cliffhanger. Meanwhile, the chat completely erupts with the fans raging and losing their absolute minds in agony. Cut back to reality, where Juhyuk is totally locked in crunching the crazy metrics behind the channel's viral explosion. He quickly catches on that this chaotic, unhinged fanbase, despite all their toxic cursing, is actually hard carrying the channel's unbelievable momentum, spreading the hype like wildfire across every single game. His analytics screen reveals a wild truth. While the bros are spamming smaller donations, the female audience is quietly dropping massive bags, fueling the highest overall revenue. He starts plotting their next galaxy brain move toward a game backed by funk, but his hardcore grind gets instantly derailed when his dad literally kicks his bedroom door open, absolutely seeing red. Turns out, the CEO of Juhyuk's old corporate job completely snitched, calling his dad to expose his sudden resignation. The old man is humiliated by this massive hit to his pristine reputation, suffocating under the sheer weight of his dad's terrifying, crushing death stare. Juhyuk completely caves, reluctantly agreeing to crawl back to the family empire the very next morning. Left totally isolated in his dark room, Juhyuk hits an absolutely soul-crushing emotional rock bottom, questioning if his 1 week of pure, unadulterated freedom was nothing more than a beautiful, tragic illusion. He slumps down at his setup for one final look. Blinking back heavy tears, the guy realizes this gaming fantasy was just too damn good to abandon. Flash forward to the crack of dawn. Sang-hoon is violently jump-scared out of his sleep by his doorbell buzzing at a stupidly early hour. He practically zombies his way through the pitch-black apartment, totally baffled about who would pull up this early. He swings the door open to find a sweat-drenched Juhyuk just posted up with a massive suitcase. Before our protagonist can even process this wild scene, Joo-hyuk bursts out laughing from pure relief, declaring that he has officially packed up and escaped his toxic household, ready to go all in on their streaming empire for real. Fast forward, the dynamic duo is chilling, throwing down a massive celebratory feast of ultra-crispy, Korean fried chicken. While Joo-hyuk is absolutely smashing back ice-cold beers, our guy stays locked in, flat-out rejecting the booze because he has a hardcore stream scheduled for later. This ironclad discipline seriously blows his buddy's mind, though honestly it definitely does not stop the newly minted manager from effortlessly polishing off both tall boys, all by himself. Mid-bite, Sang-hoon finally drops the million-dollar question, asking why his boy pulled the trigger on moving out today of all days. The vibe instantly gets incredibly heavy, so Joo-hyuk nervously dodges eye contact, begging for a rain check on unpacking all that messy family trauma for another time. Thankfully, our alpha protagonist totally reads the room, immediately backing off to give his bro some much-needed breathing space. He officially greenlights Joo-hyuk crashing at the pad, since the place is spacious enough for the ultimate bro setup. Eventually, the vibe pivots straight back to the grind. Zooming in on that legendary Kingdom Age cliffhanger, Joo-hyuk aggressively warns our streamer that he is currently navigating a highly lethal romantic minefield, torn right between top-tier waifus Amelia and Rosalita. Sang-hoon just shrugs, totally deadpan, genuinely questioning if his choice even matters in the grand scheme. This painfully clueless reaction sends Joo-hyuk into a total panicked meltdown. He violently shoves his smartphone into Sang-hoon's face, pulling up the unhinged Reddit threads, showing off how the fandom is literally promising absolute bloodbaths and fiery executions based on whichever team our hero locks in. One absolutely psycho user is literally threatening to dox Almond's IP address if he dares to choose the wrong girl. But instead of getting rattled by this nuclear-level internet toxicity, our absolute Chad just drops a cold smirk, genuinely amused by the sheer chaos. Joo-hyuk is completely shook by this icy composure, silently marveling at that legendary pro-athlete mentality. Meanwhile, taking a sip from a crisp blue energy drink, Sang-hoon drops a harsh reality check. Kingdom Age is wrapping up, and they are slacking hard without a solid follow-up game in the chamber. He needs to keep this viral hype train rolling at max speed, baiting in fresh viewers while keeping the day one loyalists absolutely fed. Joo-hyuk instantly flexes his big brain manager skills. He flips open his laptop, spotlighting a brutally tactical shooter called Battle Rage, hyping it up as a ridiculously high stakes 100-player sweatfest battle royale, where the only objective is surviving the absolute meat grinder using an insane weapon arsenal. Because this title demands literal god-level mechanics and insanely rapid-fire reflexes, he is dead certain it aligns flawlessly with our guy's lethal gaming style. But when Sang-hoon casually suggests running some offline practice to master the clunky gunplay, Joo-hyuk violently vetoes the idea, practically screaming in pure horror. He passionately argues that chat doesn't just want to watch standard sweaty plays. They are starving for an absolute unmatched prodigy, a freak of nature who can completely style on lobbies, blind and dominate on day one, exactly like his legendary archery debut. Desperate to confirm his guy actually has the juice, Joo-hyuk demands a peek at his VR capsule baseline stats. Our boy casually drops the bomb that he has been effortlessly speedrunning the system's core, agility and spatial awareness drills on absolute nightmare mode literally every single day. The moment Joo-hyuk pulls up the global leaderboards tied to Sang-hoon's hardware code, his brain completely short-circuits in sheer terror and disbelief. It turns out our casual gamer is sitting dead first in the entire world, rocking 12,000 points. This absolutely seals the deal. Realizing his friend isn't just an archery god but an absolute generational talent across the board completely electrifies Joo-hyuk. The guy physically punches the air, totally hyped out of his mind, aggressively demanding they sign up for Battle Rage immediately. Meanwhile, back at the rig, Sang-hoon boots up his setup way ahead of schedule. He is testing the waters, trying to hack the algorithm to see which stream times farm the most views. Joo-hyuk hits him with a quick good luck. They trade some classic bro banter and the heavy capsule lid finally seals shut. Neon blue light floods his vision as the full dive kicks in, ripping our boy straight back to the blood-stained dirt, where the absolute stunner commander, Rosalita, is holding her breath for his answer. Almond knows the weight of this exact moment. This single dialogue option will completely hijack his entire playthrough, but he is sticking to his guns. Keeping his voice deadpan, he drops the ultimate respectful curveball, telling her that while the offer is insane, his loyalty is already locked in with someone else. Instantly, the chat turns into an absolute war zone. Team Amelia spams the screen with victory emotes while the Rosanita simps are basically crying and throwing up over the rejection. Taking the massive L with total grace, Rosanita flashes a bittersweet smile, admitting the guy holds way more honor than half the fake knights out there. Heavy armor clanks around her. As her personal guard escorts the beautiful commander, Almond is left standing alone in the debris, silently calculating that joining her faction would have dragged this storyline out way too long. And honestly, our boy is getting that itch. It is officially time to wrap this up, and his massive brain plotting gets instantly cut off when Lady Amelia screams his name. He whips around to see her standing right there in the wreckage. She is fighting back happy tears, hitting him with the most heartwarming smile. Her bodyguards are literally begging her to step back from the active war zone, but she ignores every single red flag, sprinting forward and tackling our hero into a desperately tight, hyper-emotional hug. Since he officially secured the ultimate win, our boy drops the iconic line, "Let's go home." The live chat instantly hits terminal velocity. It is an absolute meltdown of wild shipping and pure disbelief. The romantic tension is so absurdly thick that even the most hardcore toxic chatters are sitting there totally convinced. They are definitely not just playing a video game anymore. The two lean in, close their faces literally inches away from crossing the line, and bam, the screen aggressively cuts to black. This absolute menace of a tactical cliffhanger sends the viewer count into a completely unhinged spiral of pure anarchy. Fans are screaming at their monitors, utterly betrayed that the developers actually censored the single most hyped moment of this entire run. The camera beautifully transitions to the squad riding out under a golden sunset. The sheer reality of Almond's legendary carry job is finally starting to sink in. A high-ranking knight pulls up on horseback, practically begging to know if the rumors about his insane 100 kill streak are actually real, praising him like a literal god. Almond plays it ridiculously cool, totally downplaying his god-tier mechanics and giving all the credit to the frontline meat shields. But Captain Roman, he rolls his eyes so hard he might pass out. He completely roasts the shiny knights, calling them out for acting like besties now, when they were literally trash-talking his skills 5 minutes ago. Then, stepping entirely out of character, the grumpy captain drops a genuine soft-spoken thank you to our boy. He admits that because Almond hardcore carried the siege, the whole squad just secured a bag heavy enough to chill out for 4 solid months. This unexpected hit of pure bromance has the original viewers totally bugging out, spamming the chat with theories that the real Roman got secretly replaced by a skinwalker. The squad finally rolls up to Lord Genere's massive flex-worthy estate. The cinematic vibe instantly hard pivots from a dark fantasy war epic straight into the most stressful meet the parents dinner ever. Amelia parades Almond in like absolute royalty, dragging him into this massive dining hall to face her dad. The absolute gravity of the moment hits our guy like a freight train. He is officially standing face to face with the final boss, the exact dude who literally holds his entire in-game career hostage. Plot twist: Lord Genere isn't some stuck-up noble at all. He hypes our boy up, welcoming him with wide-open arms and hitting him with a booming heavy slap on the back. He snaps his fingers, demanding the royal feast be served right now, which instantly skyrockets Almond's anxiety levels to max capacity. He is low-key sweating about all the insane high-class etiquette he is supposed to know. And yeah, that quick breath of relief. Completely vapor, a glowing system pop-up suddenly flashes across his retinas, launching an insanely high-stakes dinner minigame. Because apparently, sweaty mercenaries do not have the riz for fine dining. The game traps Almond in an ultra-chaotic rhythm simulator just to stop him from looking like a total clown. He is literally staring down a finger bowl, sweating bullets while hitting rapid-fire notes flying across his screen just to wash his hands correctly. The stream chat is absolutely dying of laughter. This out-of-nowhere transition into a dating sim rhythm game is comedy gold, especially while watching our hero desperately try to keep a straight face. He is sweating over a flawless combo, frantically piecing together a literal jigsaw puzzle just to slice meat and matching crazy shapes just to swallow soup. The developers made one thing brutally clear. In the brutal world of simply chewing your food is a literal boss fight. Cut back to reality. Sang Yoon is totally dead, inside slouched deep into his gaming chair. He is mentally flatlined. That stupid dinner sequence genuinely drained more of his soul than surviving the actual bloody siege. The vibe shifts hard when Lord Genere firmly places his goblet down. Staring Almond dead in the eye, he flat out offers him the official rank of a knight. The chat completely freezes. This secret quest line is absolutely insane because no other streamer in history has ever speedrun the night class this fast. Two glowing blue text boxes pulse across the monitor, trapping Almond at a massive game-altering crossroads. Secure the prestigious title of a knight, or stay grinding as a lone wolf mercenary. It hits him siding with Amelia, has totally derailed the main storyline, fast-forwarding the plot way beyond his wildest. Right when the suspense hits absolute peak levels, Almond executes his trademark troll move and brutally cuts the feed, leaving the stream dangling on a criminal cliffhanger and sending his entire chat into an absolute keyboard-smashing meltdown. Popping the hatch of his VR rig, Sang-hoon takes a deep breath, totally vibing with how chill reality feels when he isn't constantly dodging death. His manager, Joo-hyuk, storms in clutching hard analytics, proving the broadcast absolutely shattered expectations. Forums are already catching fire with viral threads dissecting the father-in-law questline, but Joo-hyuk drops an even heavier bomb. The industry titan Punk just rubber-stamped the cash to cover Jia's paycheck. This massive corporate backing entirely flips the script for Almond's trajectory, proving that a legally binding mega contract hits way different than some empty verbal promises. Word of this unholy alliance torches through the internet in seconds, spawning hyped-up headlines, crowning the newbie sniper as an undisputed top-tier legend. While forum trolls and confused casuals demand to know why a megacorp would adopt a guy pulling barely 1,000 concurrent viewers, the real ones recognize that Almond basically dragged Kingdom Age out of its grave entirely solo. Punk is currently out for blood, aggressively trying to drown their rivals by locking down exclusive talent, transforming our boy into their ultimate secret weapon. As the comment sections wage war over whether he should ditch his main game for flashier AAA drops, the hype surrounding his next masterclass absolutely skyrockets. After surviving a brutal gauntlet of corporate handshakes, the countdown finally hits 0 for Almond to boot up his debut stream strapped with the Punk logo. The live chat is a claustrophobic sea of hyped fans, enduring the pre-stream holding screen desperate for clues. Suddenly, the monitor blasts neon blue, launching a ridiculously clean transition, and Almond materializes, flashing that trademark casual grin. He commands the mic, radiating this crazy new boss energy, leveling up from a bow-wielding underdog to a certified industry icon. Yu Sang-hoon drops a remarkably sleek promo video, hyping up his completely revamped all-tube network. He opens with warm, authentic vibes, pouring out massive thanks to his loyal viewers, admitting their raw engagement literally manifested this mega contract. Meanwhile, die-hard gamers and bored 9-to-5ers across the city are dropping their jaws, totally stunned that a rookie managed to bag an absolute titan like Punk. Our guy simply locks in on his content roadmap. He hypes up his editor, C0 Gia, who is currently sweating bullets in the lab, polishing his god-tier sniper reels and legacy montages for the grand reveal. The exact second he teases mind-blowing future drops, the entire internet straight up breaks. The chat moves at light speed, paralyzed in total disbelief over his meteoric, insane glow-up. Riding the high of a flawless debut, Sang-hoon and his manager Joo-hyuk slide into a low-key booth at a neighborhood joint, ready to absolutely demolish a mountain of crispy fried. Joo-hyuk aggressively hypes up his bro's flawless execution, though he's low-key bummed that Gia missed out on their inaugural corporate feast. Our boy keeps his ego totally in check, treating the night like an average hangout, but his jaw actually drops when Joo-hyuk drops the absolute bombshell that Gia cranked out 3 cinematic bangers in just 48 hours. Sang-hoon casually points out she literally crafted those off the clock way before any ink hit the contract. This revelation totally paralyzes Joo-hyuk, completely failing to compute how someone grinding that hard acted so utterly dead inside during their initial recruitment pitch. The immaculate vibes instantly shatter when our guy tries to probe Joo-hyuk about the deep lore behind him fleeing his family estate. Mid-sentence, Joo-hyuk locks onto a menacing squad, crashing the entrance, and the blood literally drains from his face because the diner sits right in the shadow of their old corporate hellhole Asung. Their former squad, dragged along by the universally hated manager Park, just strolled in looking for a table. Sweating bullets, Joo-hyuk aggressively tries to shove Sang-hoon beneath the booth so they can ghost the venue, but their luck is completely zero. Park snipes them from across the room and stalks over wearing this incredibly punchable, arrogant smirk, practically foaming at the mouth to mock his useless rejects about being unemployed. The atmosphere instantly turns suffocating, as the boomer aggressively tries to flex his dead authority, barking at Sang-hoon to bow his head and salute his ex-superior. While Ju-hyuk is practically dripping sweat, desperately plastering on a fake customer service smile, our protagonist stays completely ice cold. Staring straight through the bully's soul, he drops a savage reality check asking why he'd waste breath greeting someone he actively despises. This zero hesitation disrespect completely short-circuits Park's brain, making him shriek about Song-hoon being a hopeless outcast who refuses to bow down and play by the rules of the real world. Even with the whole restaurant practically glaring at them over the screaming match, our guy just hits them with this ice-cold smirk. He casually roasts the absolute hypocrisy of a dude demanding respect while literally crashing a private dinner table like a total creep. The tension snaps. Sang-yoon pushes back his chair, standing up to completely dwarf the sweating beet-red manager. But right before things get physical, a super upbeat voice slices right through. Enter Director Oh from Punk. He struts into the joint, throwing his arms wide open to greet Sang-yoon, hyping up his insane video metrics for the whole room to hear. He drops the bomb that the big wigs back at headquarters are absolutely losing their minds over the crazy analytics. They are practically begging for a VIP sit-down with our boy. This flex hits Manager Park so hard you can practically see his soul leave his body. He is straight up gagged. The same dude he literally just called a Nepo baby is actually a top-tier partner for a multi-million-dollar empire. The vibe flips in a split second. The whispers start, and suddenly the entire crowd realizes they are staring at the legendary streamer, Almond. Suddenly, it is a full-blown meet and greet as fans swarm his table. Basking in that main character energy, Sang-yoon chilly signs autographs, leaving Manager Park grinding his teeth into dust from pure, helpless rage. Knowing he just took a massive L, the humiliated manager barks at his corporate lapdogs to evacuate the building right this second. They literally ditch their food and sprint for the door, clutching the ultimate walk of shame. Once the clowns bounce, Ju-hyuk and Sang-yoon give massive props to Director Oh for the clutch save. Oh laughs it off, admitting he laid it on thick just to spook those toxic boomers. But then he spills the real tea. He was dead serious about the dinner invite and the crazy stats. Sang-yoon's debut drop did not just do well, it straight up broke the internet, proving his streaming grind is scaling way faster than his lethal headshots. Flashback to a brutal reality check. During a savage meeting with a ruthless executive, our boy got a heavy dose of industry truth. The suit flat out warned him that crushing it on Triv definitely does not guarantee you will not flop on AllTube. He claimed you have to grind out at least 20 uploads before the algorithm even thinks about throwing you a profit trend. Knowing that dark statistic makes his channel's overnight explosion look like an absolute glitch in the Matrix. Cut to his bathroom. A sweaty Sang-yoon is aggressively brushing his teeth, completely frozen, just staring blankly at his glowing screen. His very first batch of AllTube videos casually smashed 50,000 views apiece in just 24 hours. He remembers how even Bubblegum, the undisputed king of Triv, crashed and burned on this site. It makes his own mega-viral moment feel like a wild, impossible fever dream. He scrubs his teeth like a madman as the real reason clicks. He owes a huge chunk of this dub to Ju-hyuk's genius strategy. This whole wave of hype is carried by those god-tier edits, cooked up by Seo Gia back when she was just a fan. Her dignity of a sniper montage was the absolute magnet that sucked everyone into his gameplay. Sipping his morning brew, Sang-yoon feels overwhelmingly blessed to have her impact on the squad. On the flip side, Ju-hyuk is practically dying of laughter knowing their crusty old boss is probably punching the air right now. Thanks to that heavy flex from Director Oh, those corporate bullies are fully convinced our guy has a literal, mafia-level sugar daddy pulling the strings. The morning hype settles back into the grind. Sang-yoon laces up for a run, proving that even a retired pro athlete does not skip cardio. He refuses to let himself go soft, especially after absolutely demolishing chicken and beer the night before. But his runner's high gets killed by a blaring ringtone. It is a completely unhinged Ju-hyuk screeching through the speaker about unread texts. He hypes up that their analytics are moving so insanely fast that the punk executive wants to lock in that fancy dinner as soon as possible. Switching gears, Ju-hyuk brings up that they seriously need to treat Gia to a nice gift, because honestly, she is the MVP carrying this entire operation. And the universe literally provides because he instantly spots Gia jogging right toward him on the trail. Cut to them chilling at a brand new smashburger joint. Our guy is hardcore sweating, stressing that greasy fast food is a totally trashy way to say thank you. But Gia casually waves it off, insisting it is exactly what she craved. Then the vibe drops into pure agonizing awkwardness. She unhinges her jaw and demolishes her burger, leaving Sang-yoon completely paralyzed by her dead silent alpha-level focus. You could literally hear a pin drop, or rather a single crow screaming in the distance until Gia finally breaks the ice. She bluntly points out that him burning a hole in her face is kind of ruining her appetite. A wildly flustered Songyun instantly stammers out an apology. Desperate to kill the cringe, he tries, throwing out some basic small talk, but Gia just shoots him down with freezing one-word answers. Finally, she sighs, admitting she is just incredibly socially awkward. Claiming her brain only functions for deep chats, if they are talking shop, or if she is 3 drinks deep, Songyun drops the funny guy act. He looks right at her with raw empathy, explaining that he totally gets what it is like to bottle everything up. Having survived his own hellish corporate trauma, he gently tells her there is zero rush. She can spill her guts whenever she's finally ready, a gesture that leaves Gia genuinely melting at his mature vibe. Cutting back to the virtual realm, a fresh broadcast kicks off, and the chat instantly explodes with Alha welcomes. His followers aggressively spam congratulations on securing that official punk partnership, while Songyun hypes up his viewers and drops 2 massive bombshells. First, the partnership is locked in. Second, today is the day he permanently seals his avatar's destiny in Kingdom Age. Even though the chat is practically begging for new game teasers, our boy locks in the night storyline, triggering an absolutely gorgeous cinematic. Snow dumps down on the castle courtyard as Lady Amelia officially dubs him her personal protector. The vibes are immaculate, as she taps an ornate longsword against his shoulder, flashing a breathtaking smile. While the chat is literally sobbing over this perfect ending, a sudden wild time skip hits. Songyun spawns inside a massive, gorgeous library, fully decked out in elite emerald and gold armor. But the chill vibes instantly vanish when the screen violently glitches, erupting into blinding orange fire. A hidden quest scroll snaps open and combusts, projecting a warning that blasts a shockwave of digital heat straight through our main guy's body. The system basically tells him because he claimed the armor he must survive. One ultimate test, to prove he actually deserves this rank, kicking off the absolute final chapter of his run in this universe. Almond is visibly confused, thinking he already had this in the bag. But before he can even blink at the system pop-up, a young squire smashes through the oak doors, absolutely losing his mind because our guy isn't geared up. The kid waves his arms like a maniac, screaming that he's going to miss the grand tournament. Almond is completely clueless, prompting the squire to literally ask if he's high on some crazy medieval herbs from last night. The comment section is dying laughing, but things get super intense when the servant starts aggressively inspecting our hero's gear, trying to figure out if he's a fraud. Thank God they bump into Lady Amelia. The squire practically wets himself, terrified she overheard his trash talk, but she completely ghosts the kid, steps right up to Almond, and plants a deep kiss on him. This sudden flex leaves both the streamer and his viewers absolutely stunned, though Almond brushes it off, realizing their romance stats definitely maxed out to trigger this. Amelia stares dead into his soul, warning him that if he chokes in this arena, their whole happy ending gets deleted. Betting everything on his skills, they march straight into a colossal coliseum packed to the brim with screaming spectators. Of course, the absolute worst hater, Count Alberto, is waiting at the VIP gates. He immediately starts roasting the Generia bloodline for picking up a total random, openly doubting if some base-level peasant can actually swing a sword. The viewers instantly spot this guy. He's that one toxic boss who ruins everything in the other playthroughs, and the chat violently demands his downfall. When Alberto calls Almond's legendary kill streaks nothing but fake news, Amelia snaps back, dropping the Talorant raid facts to shut him up. But that just triggers the Count's ego even more. He completely loses it, screaming at her for disrespecting top-tier royalty over some worthless scrub. Almond finally steps up, gently pushing Amelia back and telling her not to sweat it. He stands tall and drops a massive plot twist, revealing he was the one who demanded this brutal deathmatch to flex his true stats. As he boots up and walks onto the blood-stained sand, the stadium explodes into a deafening roar. Alberto sneers from the balcony, tossing one last insult and outlining the rigged rules before unveiling the real trap. He shouts that an elite warrior should easily solo a troll. Heavy chains snap, and the iron gates crash open, unleashing a hulking pure muscle abomination. The crowd goes dead silent. Everyone knows trolls have insanely broken healing factors, meaning an archer build is basically useless here. The chat starts panicking, spamming that he needs a heavy blunt weapon or a greatsword to actually outdamage its health regen. Meanwhile, the cowardly rich folks scramble out of their VIP seats, running for their lives. Almond is left completely solo in the dirt, with this absolute raid boss. He clocks that the beast is lagging on its first strike, so he seizes the opening. Ignoring the chat's heavy skepticism, he smoothly draws an arrow. Wham! He fires one perfectly placed shot that drives straight through the monster's chest cavity. A gruesome cinematic fountain of gore erupts, leaving thousands of spectators totally paralyzed in shock. Because he nailed a flawless critical hit, the troll drops dead on the spot, its broken healing mechanic completely bypassed by raw damage. Count Alberto's jaw literally hits the floor. He's hyperventilating while the chat bursts into tears laughing, realizing Almond's basic auto attack is basically a nuke. This god-tier flex clears his name forever, instantly cutting to an incredibly lavish cathedral where Amelia, glowing in a breathtaking white gown, finally locks in their marriage. As the gorgeous end credits start rolling, saying, Yun leans back in his pitch-black gaming pod. He just stares at the ceiling, absorbing how this single virtual reality experience totally flipped his life in just 7 days. He exhales, acknowledging that Kingdom Age is officially 100% completed. He smiles, ready to move on, as his viewers are already spamming suggestions for the next crazy universe. Diving headfirst into brutal player versus player arenas means swapping predictable AI for ruthless human sweatlords, sending a massive wave of anxiety crashing over our guy. He knows damn well these toxic tryhards won't show a rookie an ounce of mercy, meaning his flawless gaming god reputation could shatter into a million pieces if he completely chokes. Still, letting fear paralyze him just isn't in his DNA. Flashing a cocky smirk directly into the lens, he drops the bombshell. His next massive conquest is the hyper-realistic shooter Battle Large. Rewinding slightly before this massive career pivot, Yu Sung-hyun grabs some grub with his manager Ju Hyuk. The duo kicks back at the kitchen island, chowing down on crispy fried chicken right next to a glowing holographic projector. Ju Hyuk is seriously sweating this transition. He's low-key terrified that the die-hard Kingdom Age fanbase is going to totally jump ship the second they switch titles. But Sang-hyun just takes a chill sip of his soda, utterly unfazed. Our dude casually breaks it down, pointing out that shedding 50% of your audience is basically a standard hazard for variety streamers. It's a brutal but necessary gamble, because viewers will absolutely ghost a creator who stays stagnant and refuses to level up. That harsh reality smacks him right in the face back in the present. As the broadcast rolls on, Sang-hyun keeps that charismatic smile plastered on, but internally it's stinging like crazy. Watching his live viewer count absolutely freefall, from 2,000 down to just over 1,100. Still, he forces himself to look on the bright side, rationalizing that this massive drop-off was fully baked in, especially considering he's literally just sitting there painfully waiting for Battle Large to finish its massive download. The chat is absolutely losing their minds, flaming him for being such a massive noob that he didn't even bother to pre-install the massive file. This sparks an absolute avalanche of spam, with viewers hyping up how crazy it is to witness a fresh meat rookie diving blind into such an insanely hardcore, hyper-realistic title. While killing time, a super chat from a viewer named Affogato drops some crucial Alpha Battle Large operates on hardcore real-world physics, making it a completely different beast compared to the fantasy realm of Kingdom Age. Hearing this immediately sparks a flashback for Sang-hyun, reminding him of his grueling days grinding through actual Olympic-level simulations. That memory totally flips a switch in his brain, replacing his pre-game jitters with pure, unadulterated hype. The second the progress bar hits 100%, our guy plunges straight into the virtual war zone. Boom, he's instantly ripped from his setup and thrown straight into the belly of a rattling military chopper, tearing through a breathtakingly vibrant, cloudy sunset. His eardrums are immediately assaulted by the absolute roar of the heavy-duty rotor blades. Inside the shaking cabin, a hardcore NPC drill sergeant barks at the squad, screaming at everyone to gear up for the imminent hot drop. Sang-hyun glances down at his heavy black combat boots, only to realize his knees are practically knocking together. The vertigo from the hyper-realistic altitude is genuinely messing with his head, and sure, the sweeping bird's-eye view of the sprawling, war-torn city below looks like a sin, but staring down that massive, dizzying drop is straight-up nightmare fuel. When the drill sergeant roars at him to bail out, our dude totally freezes up, completely baiting his chat into roasting the absolute life out of him. With zero choice left, he gets violently chucked out into the open sky. He flails around in a state of sheer, unadulterated panic, completely drowning out the hyped-up war cries of the adrenaline-junkie players diving past. Since his only prep was skimming a quick tutorial video, he is wildly unprepared for how intense the wind-whipping G-force actually feels. Sung-hyun desperately claws at his tactical harness as he hurtles toward the concrete. Thank God for auto-deploy, because the massive canopy suddenly violently bursts open, yanking him upward, and finally That relief doesn't last long, though. He realizes way too late that his descent speed is still ridiculously hot. He slams into the dirt with a brutal bone-rattling thud, kicking up a massive dust cloud and letting out an agonizing groan as he ragdolls across the Chad is absolutely wheezing at his tragic belly flop, but there's no time to recover. The cinematic camera pans up, exposing a post-apocalyptic concrete jungle where chaotic brawls and brutal fistfights are already popping off in the streets. To make matters worse, a duo of sweaty players catch his totally embarrassing wipeout and instantly lock onto him like wolves, screaming at the top of their lungs about fresh meat they charge. Sang-hyun literally scrambles backward on all fours, absolute terror in his eyes, desperately wondering if there's a giant neon level 1 sign hovering over his head. His chat is quick to humble him, typing that his catastrophically loud crater of a landing totally outed him. Running on pure adrenaline, he donkey kicks the front door of a rundown white complex, desperate for literally any kind. Gasping for breath in the shadows, his pupils suddenly dilate. Sitting right there on a filthy abandoned table is a sleek high-tech compound bow. A rush of muscle memory hits our boy instantly. Back in his pro-athlete days, he used to casually snipe targets with these exact weapons just to blow off steam. Suddenly, his crippling fear morphs into ice. The absolute second his fingers wrap around that carbon fiber grip, heavy thudding footsteps on the exterior fire escape violently give away his hunters, who are aggressively pushing the second floor. A totally toxic three-man squad breaches the upper corridor cockily, assuming that the terrified rookie is still cowering somewhere on the ground level, completely defenseless and empty-handed. But the exact second they arrogantly stomp down the hall thwip, a razor-sharp broadhead completely impales the squad leader right through the sternum. The kill feed lights up instantly, leaving the surviving duo totally paralyzed in sheer, unadulterated shock. It takes them a second to process that their hard carry was just casually, instantly deleted by a primitive string weapon. They frantically swing their aim to return fire, but our guy is just on a whole different level. Sang-hyun flawlessly knocks another shaft, anchoring his draw, and lets it fly, pinning the second sweat directly through the eye socket. A massive double kill notification flashes across the screen. Watching his squad get dismantled in under 3 seconds, the final tryhard violently nopes out, sprinting for his life. This triggers an absolute war in the chat, arguing over whether to chase down the rat, especially since these absolute bozos were illegally teaming up in a strictly solo queue lobby. Feeling vengeful, Sang-hyun decides it's open season. Plot twist: the final straggler tries to pull off a desperate flank from the rear, shakily drawing a looted bow of his own in a pathetic last stand against our main guy. He unleashes a point-blank blast to secure the triple kill, scoffing at the fact that these noobs actually thought mirroring his weapon would keep them breathing. His livestream chat absolutely erupts with hype and laughing emojis over how brutally he dismantled the squad, even though a few seasoned veterans are quick to mention that those opponents were definitely total bots thanks to his brand new matchmaking rank. Sang-hyun just smirks at his holographic interface and gears up to start farming bodies with a whole new level of swagger. Suddenly, a harsh grating vibration shatters the moment. A massive glowing gold alert overtakes the sky, flashing a huge warning that the deadly blue zone is going to collapse in exactly 30 seconds. It is the ultimate signal that the safe haven is shifting. In a cutthroat survival game like Battle Large, tons of gamers think camping in a dark corner is a big brain move to outlast the lobby. But the developers implemented this punishing blue zone mechanic to completely ruin that strategy by forcing a colossal digital dome to cave in across the map. Anyone caught outside that glowing barrier constantly bleeds out health until they literally drop dead. Sang-hyun instantly realizes he is caught in an awful position as the blaring system alert reminds him he only has 30 seconds left to escape. He scopes out the area through a busted window, catching sight of rival players scrambling for their lives, which forces him to sprint out into the crumbling ruins right alongside them. The battlefield out here is mostly shattered stone rubble, with practically zero solid cover, so our guy tries to navigate the danger zone as stealthily as possible. Out of nowhere, the dead silence gets ripped apart by the deafening roar of a heavy car engine, making him instantly dive behind a short, busted wall. He holds his breath, praying the driver will just cruise right past his spot. But his luck runs out when a sniper round violently shatters the rock barely an inch from his skull, followed by an absolute storm of rapid gunfire that kicks up a blinding cloud of sparks and concrete dust. This insane jump scare leaves our protagonist completely breathless and rattled, causing his viewers to absolutely lose their minds, spamming laughing emojis at his genuinely. Feeling super awkward, he quickly tries to play off the panic by reminding the stream that this is literally his very first time playing the game. But the audience is way too busy fawning over the wholesome moment to care. Things quickly go south, though, as the heavy vehicle accelerates directly toward his position, forcing him to abandon his cover and run for his life. It clicks in his head that these tryhards are weaponizing the armored truck just to aggressively close the gap, but his eyes widen in pure shock when a barrage of their heavy bullets literally obliterates the corner of the wall he was hiding behind just seconds ago. He aggressively power slides behind a much thicker stone pillar, barely dodging another lethal spray of lead. Peeking from this new angle, he locks his eyes onto an attacker decked out in full tactical camo, who is clearly raging that his assault rifle sprays are missing the mark. The toxic player starts screaming at Almond to stop fighting the inevitable and just come out to die. But our main character stays completely silent, crouching low into the dirt as he waits for the perfect. Sang-yoon's gaze locks onto a different trio of players chilling next to a rugged jeep, and his chat instantly blows up, calling out these absolute frauds for blatantly teaming up in what is strictly supposed to be a free-for-all solo lobby. He refuses to let their toxic cheating tilt him steadily, drawing back the heavy string of his compound bow. He lets the projectile fly. It connects with a sickeningly loud thud, instantly wiping one of the cheating attackers straight off the map. Since these arrogant guys didn't even bother equipping tactical helmets, scoring the elimination is basically free. The surviving duo completely freezes up, visibly stunned but before their brains can even process that primitive bows deal massive base damage in this game, Almond releases a second lethal shaft, instantly dropping another squadmate into the dirt. The final surviving rat panics and scrambles behind a boulder, screaming at the top of his lungs that Almond has to be a top-tier smurf who deliberately tanked his rank just to farm easy clips. Our icy hero completely tunes out the desperate crying. Instead, he uses the raw echo of the guy's whining voice to pinpoint his exact coordinates behind the stone. Tilting his heavy bow straight up toward the heavens, he looses an arrow that tears into the thick clouds before dropping back down in a flawless, deadly arc right behind the boulder. The camper shrieks in absolute agony as the sharp steel connects. His entire livestream goes completely feral over this god-tier blind shot, while Almond simply flashes a cold smirk and casually thanks the weeping player for being so obnoxiously loud flexing that he maps out his entire battlefield using nothing but audio cues. He casually lets off one more arrow, but the screen flashes a knocked-out alert instead of a clean elimination. This totally throws Sang-yoon for a loop until a sudden realization hits him like a truck. He accidentally queued up for a squad's lobby, where downed players can just get easily picked back up by their surviving medics. He feels like a massive clown for making such a rookie mistake. But the vibe instantly flips when a mega fan going by the name Solo Alliance drops a crazy donation of 10,001 bits and throws down an insane bounty promising 100,000 more if he can actually clutch up this match totally solo. Our fearless protagonist eagerly accepts the challenge, but his brain starts spinning, wondering why that last guy only went down if the rest of his squad was supposedly wiped. Without warning, the deadly crack of a silenced rifle spits fire from the deep shadows, and a heavy caliber slug rips right into Sang-yoon's body. The virtual impact hits with terrifying realism, violently launching him backward as crimson pixels splatter across his vision. Fighting through the shock, he forces himself to barrel roll across the gritty sand, desperately diving through a blown-out hole in a wooden shack to find a split second of cover. As he slumps against the floorboards, gasping for air, he spots his virtual heart monitor furiously blinking a bright danger red. It is a built-in safety protocol designed to forcefully eject gamers from the server if their actual pulse spikes too dangerously high. The warning leaves him questioning if this VR title is always this intense, or if something is seriously glitching out with his own physical body. Through his heavy breathing, he catches the faint crunch of creeping footsteps, completely ignoring his chat, complaining that the audio is dead silent. By dialing all his senses, he quickly calculates that the stealthy phantom is slowly, methodically creeping their way back toward the downed bodies to trigger a sneaky revive. Since our Deadeye Archer knows the enemy medic isn't actively hunting for a shootout right now, he bides his time for the ultimate kill window. The second it opens, he lets off a ruthless shot that drills the healer straight through the skull, effortlessly locking in a brutal double kill and fully wiping the squad from existence. As he finally lets out a massive breath of relief, he looks over to see his screen flooding with heavy cash drops from a wave of newly obsessed fans. The chat goes absolutely feral, throwing his name around alongside the legendary John Joppa. Seeing the viewers fiercely debate his raw mechanical skill, Sang-yoon feels a massive rush of adrenaline. He is finally leveling up. Stepping straight into the big leagues now, he strides over to the freshly dropped bodies to scan the dirt and see what kind of shiny loot they left behind. A sleek, pitch-black assault rifle catches his eye, fully kitted out with a heavy-duty suppressor and a crisp optic. The cold metal reflects in his dark pupils as he stares at the ultimate killing machine. Should he finally ditch his trusty bow for some modern firepower? The holographic stream chat instantly erupts into a massive civil war. Half the viewers are absolutely hyped for a villain gun arc, while the loyalists scream that the bow is his entire brand. Trolls flood the screen, pointing out the painfully obvious fact that bullets shred way faster than arrows. A few toxic fans even threaten to yank their subscriptions if he refuses to grab the rifle. But our boy pauses, realizing deep down that if he actually clutches up with just a wooden string, he will absolutely cement his status as a god-tier bow specialist. It is exactly the kind of legendary reputation he desperately wants to carry over from his glory days in his previous game. Still, a gnawing anxiety creeps in. If he chokes this match, his chat will simply because he stubbornly ignored a wildly overpowered weapon. Right as the pressure threatens to crush him, a blinding donation banner explodes across the screen. It is Seogia slamming down a massive 100,001 coin bounty for him to snatch the victory crown, using absolutely nothing but his bow. Talk about impeccable timing for our main guy. A grin tugs at his lips, feeling insanely blessed, though a dark cloud of worry lingers in the back of his mind. Gia lives right down the street, and he knows for a fact her bank account isn't exactly stacked. Despite the heavy guilt weighing on his chest about taking such a massive bag, he completely understands that he desperately needs this high-stakes challenge to skyrocket his channel's hype. Smashing that accept button on the glowing holographic interface, he locks himself into the brutal challenge. Gearing up for the violent trek ahead, Almond fiercely scrounges for medical stims and rusty canned rations. The chat relentlessly spams him to hunt down a heavy helmet at a farm, but scanning the horizon, he realizes that spot is miles away. So he hotwires a battered, dusty green SUV, abandoned off the dirt road. The roaring engine tears across the barren desert wasteland, but his viewers frantically spam the chat, begging him to hit the brakes. Rolling up to a hot drop zone in a loud vehicle is pure suicide. And honestly, their prediction comes true instantly. A rogue frag grenade violently bounces under the chassis, detonating in a blinding fireball that launches the heavy SUV into a sickening barrel roll. Trapped upside down in the blazing metal wreckage, our boy literally stares at the ceiling, sarcastically muttering if his digital auto insurance covers this kind of boom. A second explosive rips through the air, engulfing his entire screen in raw hellfire. The chat immediately spams RIP, completely convinced his run is cooked. But like a phantom, Almond bursts out of the thick black smoke and lungs burning but pulse racing. He realizes the thick ash is completely blinding him. Without skipping a beat, he breaks into a full sprint, scaling a dilapidated wall to hijack the high ground on a concrete rooftop. The absolute second his boots hit the ledge, crack high-caliber bullets shatter the brick right beside his skull. Way out in the distance, a heavily armored sniper scopes in on him from a rocky ridge, barking aggressive orders to a duo of teammates. They are flanking his exact building, while the sniper rains down a relentless barrage of suppressing fire. Our main guy huddles low against the roof knuckles, turning white as he grips his bow tightly. Deadly lead continually chews up the concrete just inches from his boots. He knows he's about to get brutally third-partied by a whole squad. But instead of panicking, he completely zones in, dialing his focus to 0 and listening intently to the chaos. Crunching the audio, he quickly counts 4 hostiles in total, 2 of them currently stomping up the stairs right below him. Up on the hill, the sniper smirks, convinced this annoying bow user is pinned like a rat. One wrong peek and his brain gets blown out. But they don't know our boy. Almond flashes back to those insane, physics-defying trick shots he used to casually pull off back in his prime archery days, tilting his compound bow toward the sky. At the most bizarre, absolute nonsense angle, he lets the bowstring snap. The razor-sharp shaft violently bounces off the surrounding steel, cutting through the air, before deeply embedding itself straight into the approaching rusher's shoulder. Bam! An instant glorious elimination drops on the screen. The entire chat loses their absolute minds, wildly typing hacks and asking if this dude seriously installed literal aimbot on a wooden bow. Almond just chuckles, realizing all those goofy childhood target practices actually paid off big time. But the celebration is cut short when the heavy thudding footsteps of the second pusher echo up the stairwell. Taking a modern assault rifle head-on with a stick and string is practically a massive death sentence. If his first shot misses, he will get immediately sprayed down before he can ever knock another arrow. But relying on pure luck, that is absolutely not his style. Milliseconds before the heavy metal door swings open, Almond launches his body horizontally into the air. Mid-flight, he aims straight down, directly through an impossibly thin gap in the floorboards. The arrow violently pierces the rusher's gut, dropping him fast, and leaving the poor gamer utterly paralyzed, in sheer disbelief at the geometrical nightmare that just ended his life. A glowing golden kill feed banner violently flashes across the screen as the player hilariously named SpongeBob collapsed. The chat completely shatters, erupting into a deafening wave of sheer hype. This absolute madman essentially did mental calculus to predict the exact millisecond that door moved, threading a needle through a millimeter gap. The viewers are fiercely convinced they aren't watching some random noob, but a literal gaming deity. Almond casually brushes it off with a smirk, humbly claiming it was just lucky timing, but chat isn't buying his fake modesty for a single second. Trolls mercilessly joke that, with that kind of crazy luck, he's definitely going. The main character chills on the roof, sporting a cocky but bashful grin. Suddenly, the camera snaps over to a jagged cliffside, where the remaining squad mates, ridiculously named Patrick Star and Calamari, glare down at the concrete building in a violently tense, dead silence. Their headsets crackle as a desperate, panicked radio transmission bleeds through from their freshly deleted teammate. SpongeBob frantically warns his squad that Almond is way too cracked for their current rank, that he got absolutely deleted the second he opened the door. His teammates are totally stunned, but Calamari refuses to buy that one solo player could wipe the floor with their squad that easily. He assumes SpongeBob was just being sloppy. But get this, these guys aren't your average casuals. They roll as Love Mondays, a notorious clan rocking a yellow sponge emblem. This crew is packed with serious talent, including their diamond-tier sniper Calamari, and they even flex some amateur tournament experience under their belts. But real life hit them like a truck. One guy was getting crushed by his bar exams while another was dealing with his own massive struggles, which totally forced them to drop the game a year ago. When they finally logged back on, the system had brutally demoted them straight down to bronze, and that's exactly why they're colliding with our cracked archer. Bleeding out on the cliff, SpongeBob begs his team to rush in for the revive, as he desperately crawls toward the ground floor. Calamari immediately gets suspicious, guessing our main character is using his knocked friend as pure bait. He mutters about how insanely cocky this bowman must be. Patrick Star straight up suggests they ditch SpongeBob and dip, but Calamari's massive ego, as a former top-tier sweat, absolutely won't let that slide. He barks at his buddy, fuming that running away from a noob lobby would permanently trash his gaming rep. Running on pure stubbornness, they lock and load their weapons and push the building. The duo creeps through a dusty trench, stepping right over the lifeless body of their teammate Mr. Krabs. Calamari orders Patrick to keep a tight and steady scope on the roof, making sure Almond can't peek. For a split second, they actually breathe a sigh of relief the moment they slide into the building's ultimate blind spot, but that false safety shatters instantly. Our boy lets a deadly arrow fly from the rooftop, and even though Calamari swears they dodged the incoming shot, a flashing gold kill feed exposes the brutal truth. The arrow literally threaded the needle right through Patrick's eye, sending him straight back to the lobby. Absolutely mind-blown that a shot could connect from that ridiculous angle, Calamari jerks his head up to see our guy, yeeting himself off the roof ledge like an absolute madman. Suspended in midair, Almond snipes one last arrow, snagging a nasty double kill and completely wiping out the rest of their squad. Once the dust finally settles, the streamer sits slumped on the floor, wrapping up his wounds. He mutters that the fall damage actually stung even with the pain meds. Meanwhile, his chat is absolutely losing its mind, spamming that he's an absolute psycho. Viewers are jokingly asking if he's smoking something wild to pull off such a brain-dead, risky maneuver. As Almond gears up for the final 26 players, and the blue zone violently closes in, the scene cuts straight to reality. A totally defeated Calamari is raging in his bedroom. Smashing his keyboard in pure tilted rage, he instantly uploads the humiliating clip to the Battle Large forums. He titles it, "This Absolute Sweat I Met in Bronze." Because he throws around his old diamond rank clout, his post blows up. The community instantly catches fire, with rumors that this archer is some top-tier smurf, ruining low-level lobbies. Internet sleuths quickly track the footage straight to Almond's livestream. Back in the digital dirt, our boy is casually looting a random wooden dresser, completely clueless that he's the target of a massive server-wide witch hunt. Suddenly, he spots a massive spike in his viewership, skyrocketing all the way to 1,905 people. He bites his lip, trying to hide a massive smirk and keep his cool, but quickly realizes the entire vibe of the chat is turning highly toxic. Floods of randoms are mass reporting his account for smurfing and typing out massive threats to end his whole career. Our hero just stares blankly at the monitor, completely lost. As the energy in his stream gets super weird, Almond initially prays this cloud is a blessing in disguise. But reality hits hard when he reads the vicious spam accusing him of smurfing the scummy move where high-level gods troll innocent beginners. Turns out a viral post is claiming our boy is a literal pro player hiding behind a dummy account. Even though these spicy claims are just people totally misjudging his raw, ungodly talent, the hate wave is instant. Hundreds of haters start reporting his channel and roasting his fake smurf status, sweating bullets. Our guy stares down at his holographic streaming hub, totally panicked. He wonders if this angry mob actually poured in from a random forum thread. Despite the absolute chaos and trolls defining what a smurf is in the chat, he decides to just lock in and stay positive. He figures that if this massive audience watches his pure gameplay, they'll instantly see the truth. Plus, he totally trusts Ju Hyuk to handle the messy, behind-the-scenes drama. Luckily, a flashing red system alert snaps him right back to reality. The blue zone is aggressively closing in. Crisp gunfire starts echoing across the dusty ruins, a clear sign that the lobbies are getting sweaty as players are funneled into a massive bloodbath. Knowing he absolutely has to outrun the deadly barrier, our guy digs his boots into the sand and sprints directly into the danger zone. Chad hypes him up to stick with the bow right as the kill feed lights up with 5 instant deaths. Only 10 players left breathing. Our boy is genuinely stunned by this. Hugging a cracked concrete wall, he ghosts quietly through the abandoned complex. He's hunting for stragglers who already lost their squads. But the exact second he pivots around the bend, bam, he slams face first into another player. Ears ringing from the brutal collision, panic spikes as he stares straight down the barrel of an assault rifle. The metal gleams viciously under a lens flare. The enemy racks the bolt, and boom, 3 deafening shots shatter the screen. Our guy eats dirt, with a heavy groan aggressively tucking and rolling behind cover. In a split second, he shifts into a flawless stance, knocking an arrow with laser focus. He holds his breath, listening to the heavy boots crunching closer, waiting for that fatal slice of arrogance. The second the cocky attacker swings the corner, creak. Almond lets it fly. Thwack. A brutal headshot triggers a blinding red hit marker. The dead guy's duo partner just freezes, absolutely shook. Screaming out that there's a phantom sniper, Almond ghosts his way to a blown-out doorframe, spying the 2 clueless targets huddled in a ditch. They swallowed the bait whole. Realizing that going rogue actually goes super hard, he stands up straight, pulling his bowstring taut. Whoosh, the shaft violently connects. The impact is so insane that a critical gear damage warning blinks on screen. The guy literally shrieks as his helmet's durability tanks. The duo, including some dude named Octopus, cower like rats in their muddy trench, bitching about who'd run a medieval weapon in the endgame. But right as Octopus whines, a massive audio cue rips through the scene. Death from above, a massive shaft pins him straight to the dirt. The system pings his knockout. His buddy Baby Octopus stares at the sky, absolutely paralyzed with fear. But before the kid can even process where the hell that shot came from, swish, another arrow slices the wind. 2 kill banners drop instantly as Almond casually wipes the whole squad. Our protagonist drops his stance, his face completely deadpan. Genuinely baffled, they folded that fast. Chat goes absolutely feral, memeing that knowing physics is the ultimate PvP cheat code, flexing that the weapon is mid, but the player is god tier. Suddenly, the kill feed pings again from across the map. 4 players left. Almond stares off wheels, turning in his head as reality hits him. If those last 3 dudes aren't a squad, he could actually clutch a victory royale. But boom, the deadly blue zone starts collapsing again. Our guy lets out a heavy sigh at his trash RNG. Chat relentlessly roasts his terrible luck. Massive bounties flash on screen, win with a bow only, and solo squad victory. The sheer amount of cash on the line has his top donators sweating bullets, begging every god out there to protect their 50,000 won. Almond stays frosty. A tighter circle is good, but campers still have a billion rat spots. He sprints ahead with his loot, only to freeze when a loud voice echoes out. Edging around the rubble, he spots a trio chilling together. It's the final squad standing strong, laughing their asses off about the solo rat left in the lobby. Our guy hugs the shadows, his cheeks actually flushed from the insane adrenaline of a 1v3. Chat starts spamming Hell Mode Unlocked, pointing out that this absolute nightmare was guaranteed when he queued solo. The trio checks their holo maps, getting cocky, because even the safe zone is blessing them. Thunder cracks lightning, illuminating the sky. Almond squeezes his arrow shaft so hard his knuckles shake with pure hype. He knows this is the exact play that turns an average gamer into an absolute legend. Seeing the trio drop their guard from pure arrogance, he decides to exploit their laziness. He downs a quick health potion, locking in for the bloodbath. Dead silence falls. The trio camps behind a boulder, wondering if the final guy just rage quit. Plot twist, Almond is prone in the dirt, right behind their blind spot. As the deadly electric blue wall of the storm literally kisses his boot, sizzle sparks erupt as the electric field scorches his skin blue. He bites down hard on his lip, his health bar absolutely melting away. Just hold on, he mentally screams. The exact second the squad realizes he's flanking them, it's game over. Almond lets it rip. Thwack, a lethal shot clean through a dude's throat. A knock notification flashes as the remaining duo starts screeching in pure panic. Almond aggressively dives straight through a storm of assault rifle bullets, knocking another arrow midair. A neon blue streak tears across the battlefield. Boom, a player named Ducky Huns is instantly deleted. The blue zone furiously bites into Almond, ripping an agonized scream from his lungs. Bursting out of the electric storm, he crashes to his knees in the safe dirt, gasping for air, chest heaving after that insane clutch, rocking a pathetic 10% health. Chat is literally malfunctioning from the sheer hype, but Almond is dead focused. His eyes lock onto the horizon, burning with pure killer instinct. One guy left. Almond vanishes into the tall grass, hunting his final prey. Laser focused on the final threat, this lone survivor stayed dead silent while his entire squad got absolutely wiped. Almond instantly realizes he is up against a cold-blooded sweat. Most likely the lethal marksman, dominating the kill feed earlier. Thank God the sniper hasn't pulled the trigger yet, confirming our guy is safely tucked in a blind spot. While he frantically wraps bandages to save his last 10% HP, a brutal system alert flashes. The blue zone is caving in again. This completely flips the script on the battlefield, especially when the dude he downed earlier starts snaking through the tall weeds. At first, Almond figures this guy is just crawling toward a teammate for a desperation res. But his big brain kicks in and he instantly does the math. He knows that picking up a downed player burns way too much time in an endgame clutch scenario. Honestly, no sweaty player would ever risk throwing when the dub is right there. It all clicks. This whole crawling animation is straight up bait, designed to drag him right into the sniper's crosshairs. Not falling for it, Almond completely melds into the dirt, refusing to leak his coordinates. He starts inching forward like an absolute ghost, his eagle eyes scanning for the faintest scope glare, or a single blade of grass twitching in the distance. Boom. His spider senses tingle. Target acquired. The camper is posted up on a faraway ridge, totally clueless that he is being hunted. Our boy knows this is his make-or-break moment, but he hits a massive technical wall. It is physically impossible to draw back a compound bow while lying flat,